captain had to go out at half-time and plead with the fans.
Yeah.
I mean, that in itself, by the way, and credit to him for doing that. And effectively, what then happened was, of course, a lot of the fans left the stadium. It was almost like, oh, there we go, 2 strikes.
Yeah.
That's me, I'm done.
It was ridiculous. This is where the 3-strike protocol does let itself down badly, doesn't it? Which is that, like you rightly said, Rich, they go, okay, well, I'll just be racist for a bit. Oh, tannoy's announcement. I'll stop for a few minutes. Right, lads, shall we crack on with the racism? Okay, let's be racist again. And then they get caught again. They go, right, well, that's me. See you in a bit, lads. See you in a bit. Yeah, see you in a bit, Emery. Bye now. Bye-bye.
Same time next week?
Yeah, same time next week. Same thing. Make sure you wear the same uniform, yeah? I mean, come on. No, but really, like, it's just nuts, isn't it?
I mean, we're laughing about it. But it's crazy.
The thing is, this is the thing.
It's funny in a weird way. It's funny. Like, and don't get me wrong. Like, it's horrible. You're seeing what Tyrone Mings is like. He's there and he's visibly upset on the pitch. Of course, like Raheem Sterling almost seems oblivious to it now. Like, it happens so many times that it almost looks like he thrives off it.
It's the fact that I just cannot imagine that this still goes on in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you look at it, and and that was it. I was looking at it last night, and because the England players were playing so well, and because of the attitude of the likes of Raheem Sterling and Tyrone Mings, who were basically like, right, let's just stuff them. Do you know what I mean? You're looking at it and you're thinking, I absolutely cannot believe that we are living in this world where this can happen, and then their manager can deny it, and they can't come down. And I can't believe we're living in a world where UEFA can go, this is right, this is it. If you just stood on a train track, eventually you're going to get hit by a train. And UEFA just made the England players, like the black England players last night, just stand on a train track and just wait for the big racist express to just come charging on through and hit them. We knew there was going to be racism. We were told there was going to be racism. Shock horror. Actual Nazis turn up, there is racism. It is just nuts. And the idea for me that Bulgaria should ever be allowed to play in an international tournament again, I personally, look, and I'm only 27, so I didn't live maybe through the bad old days of the 80s and the 70s when clearly it was just toxic everywhere. But that was as bad as I've seen. I personally can't recall. I can remember a lot of Spain fans once really getting stuck in with the monkey chants. But it's the first time in my life I've seen actual full throttle Nazis.
Should we have walked off?
Well, this is the debate, isn't it? And this is where I'm very conflicted about it, because everything in me goes like, yeah, for the obvious reasons, like get off, deny any of these players. But that is what they want, isn't it, this lot? That is when they see their team, that they are 4, 5, 6-0 down, they want us off the pitch, don't they?
They win. Literally, they win. Because, of course, England would then forfeit the game, which would then mean they would actually win, as well as having...
Works?
Well, yeah, of course, if you abandon a game, even if we're 4-0 up, 5-0 up, and we'd have walked off. So... I mean, it's a tough situation. I for what it's worth, I think Gareth Southgate handled it really well.
Yeah, he did.
He was, visibly talking to people throughout the game and made a real point. He knew how important, I suppose, the game would be, but the situation more so. Of course, we wanted to win the game. And in the end, by the way, Bulgaria were dreadful. We were very good. I want to go into the performance because, annoyingly, this is going to overshadow that. And actually, after us asking so many questions yesterday, I think they answered them emphatically.
Yeah, 100%. But just quickly, before we move on to the actual performance, which was brilliant... Chris Powell, I think the role of him on that England bench can't be underestimated, because we do have a lot of black players, and the idea that you could have an entirely white backroom staff, I think when you're dealing with situations like we were dealing with last night, there is something that doesn't sit that well with me, with essentially a bunch of white people deciding what black players should and shouldn't put up with. And I think the fact that you've got Chris Powell there is quite a powerful asset, actually, in that respect.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy. Pat Powell, he was a teammate of mine. We'll talk about him shortly. Let's hear from Ian Wright.
What you've got to understand now is that people, you can feel physically sick. Dicko, you've been on a football pitch, you've seen what it's like, but you have to continue playing through that. But what we're seeing now is that you don't now, and that's what's good.
You shouldn't have to stand for it.
It's a great day. It's a great day. Whatever anyone says, it's a terrible day for the Bulgarian people and how they've been represented. But it's a great day in respect of trying to tackle racism. Simply because we can see over them that stand with those banners what mean nothing. What we're seeing is a set of fans that do not care and need educating. And that's what's got to happen.
Ian, right there. Well said. We've got some. If I want to talk a little bit about Chris Powell, because you mentioned the importance, and I mentioned he was a teammate of mine at Watford for a year, and been really good since. Actually, kept in touch since. Saw him a couple of months ago at a game, and had a good chat. Didn't work out for him at Southend, unfortunately. Although I don't think it's going to work out for anyone at Southend. Certainly wasn't his fault, and did some really good work there. But I think as a character, and he was one that when I played with him, certain players are going to go into a managerial role. And he was the type that you just felt very, very intelligent, very personable, always just got a nice demeanour about him, and I think that kind of character, at the moment, obviously doing the job that he's doing with England, I think we'll see him come back, maybe League One as a manager, maybe Championship even, and work his way back up, because very, very, very knowledgeable. And you're right, I think that's a really good appointment from Gareth Southgate. There was a statement I want to read out as well from Kick It Out, which reads... We are sickened by the disgusting racist abuse directed at England's men's team tonight versus Bulgaria by Bulgaria's supporters, including TV footage which appeared to show Nazi salutes and monkey noises. We applauded Gareth Southgate, his staff and players for the actions taken in reporting the abhorrent abuse, and offer our full support to the entire squad, their families and anyone affected by those appalling scenes. We encourage that the protocol was initially enforced by the match officials, but UEFA must explain why players weren't sent to the dressing room during step 2, as it clearly states in the rules. TV footage also clearly shows that racist abuse continued in the second half, so it is acceptable that step 3 was not enforced. This match should have been abandoned by the officials. It's now time for UEFA to step up and show some leadership. Far too long they have consistently failed to take effective action. The fact Bulgaria are already hosting this game with a partial stadium closure for racist abuse shows that UEFA's sanctions are not fit for purpose. There can be no more pitiful fines or short stadium bans if UEFA care at all about tackling discrimination, and if the Equal Game campaign means anything, then points deductions and tournament expulsion must follow.
Yeah, well, look, 100%. I think that's it. And Kick It Out clearly do a lot of tremendous work, and like they've got their opinion on it. I think it is that debate to be had, isn't it, as whether or not we should have walked off the pitch. Clearly, Gareth Southgate was just a picture of calm throughout it last night, and actually, to be honest with you, I think he earned his money again last night, just in his kind of statesman-like approach to things. But I understand Kick It Out's response. You're right about, I thought this when the second stoppage happened and all the players came to the side of the pitch. I did think, shouldn't they be in the dressing room? That is the protocol. So absolutely. With regards to it, the game ending entirely, I get the impression, I could be wrong, I get the impression that this was a conversation that the English players had at half-time among each other and decided to carry on. Look, that may be contradicted later in the day when more info comes out, but that seems to be the impression I've got anyway.
Well, Southgate said England made a big stand last night by following UEFA's protocol.
Throughout this, I know that whatever we do might be perceived as not being enough, but I think we've made a major statement. I think we've made a major statement with the way we played through such a difficult circumstance. I don't think a game has ever been stopped of this magnitude twice. And in the second half, although I hear that other things were going on, none of us on the pitch or at the side were aware of anything else going on.
He said something quite interesting for me there, which I took as almost he knew that in some way he might not have been able to win here, because there will be people saying, "Oh, they should have walked off, should have made a statement," which you can't win, really.
Yeah.
And actually, I look at it and I think the fact that they followed UEFA's protocol, which, whether you like it or not, they did it. They won the game convincingly. They showed such class throughout.
Yeah.
I think it was spot on. But I know there will be people out there saying, no, you should have walked off. You should have made a stand.
Yeah, but this is it, isn't it? They've gone, Bulgaria's fans have been fined before. Bulgaria's fans were fined at Wembley. And then we've made them go and travel to a stadium that literally celebrated Adolf Hitler's birthday in 2013 and made them play. So it's all very well and good putting the protocol in place, but actually none of that happens if you just make sure that they can't play there.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason for it. This business of, like, giving a World Cup to Qatar to try and spread football to that region. Fine, right? There's football in Bulgaria, all right? They know how to play the game. They don't need to spread it there. They don't need to watch any more football if they can't help themselves from being frothing Nazis when the game kicks off.
I mean, the other part to it as well, the fact they closed down parts of the stadium. It's bizarre watching the game.
Well, it was a weird game anyway. Like, it was, like you say, the camera pan round, there were just pockets of fans dotted about. You thought, actually, need anyone be there, really? It didn't help anything. But where were the stewards? Where were the police? Some of these people walked in with shirts on that said no respect on. I mean, spot that coming into your stadium and just go, actually, sorry, mate, I reckon you might be a bit of a pillock.
That's a red flag.
Yeah, that's a sign, isn't it? Some of the tweets, though, just quickly.
Go on.
Raheem Sterling smashed it again. I mean, he's box office. Apart from his actual performance, of course. But he went, BBC Sports article, Bulgaria coach Krasimir Balakov has accused England of having a bigger racism problem than his own country. Raheem Sterling tweets, not sure about this one, Chief. It's just true,
Is that
isn't
Marcus
it?
Rashford or Raheem Sterling?
Raheem Sterling has tweeted that.
Okay.
And then Raheem Sterling as well, feeling sorry for Bulgaria to be represented by such idiots in their stadium. Anyway, 6-0, and we go back home. At least we did our job. Safe travel to our fans. You guys did well. Harry Kane again, great performance and made some unacceptable scenes tonight. So yeah, a few of those players there, and Ben Chilwell, I think probably hit the nail on the head here. The football did the talking tonight. Proud of everyone. And let's just talk about the actual football.
Let's do that after this.
This is Love Sport.
This is Ian Stone. I'm here on Love Sport Radio every Saturday afternoon from 12 till 3. My father said I could have been a professional footballer. My father was a big fan of mine. I was 21 years old and I was playing for a team. My father was the manager and made me Player of the Year.
Oh.
He walked into the dressing room and he went, Player of the Year this year? Well, I think it's Ian. Ian Stone every Saturday afternoon, 12 till 3.
Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive. And make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Home insurance is vital. You don't want to end up paying through the nose when something goes wrong. But are you being charged way too much for your home cover? Are your insurance premiums simply too much to bear? It doesn't have to be that way. A spokesmansaid.com is a price comparison website that trawls the internet to find the best deal for you. Don't pay the price for not shopping around. Visit a spokesmansaid.com and start saving today.
A spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
All right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
I like Putin. He gets me. I like Trump. I've got him.
Love Sport.
That's for breakfast. Love Sport Radio. But we're not all sport. Sometimes we do other stuff, like this.
It's business. It's business time. I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say it's time for business. It's business time. Ooh,
it's business. Oh, yes. Good morning, Mr. Chris Bailey, founder of FinancialOrbit.com.
Good morning. There was a bit of I thought you dropped the mic or something. There was a bit of a pause there. You obviously you got into the groan at the end.
Oh yeah.
We're not quite flowing at the moment. I've got to be honest. I think we peaked last week, and I felt like there was a real duet. We were talking about potential creating a boy band, and I don't know now. I'm not so sure whether he's the right person for me to go with on this venture.
No. I've yeah, like you say, it's not really for me. I'm like the Zayn Malik of this band. You know.
Well, I just think half the trouble is the studios is too big. I mean, you know, the fact that you guys are sitting 90 foot apart is just a bit silly. I know you want to replicate like a football pitch, but you know it's not quite the same thing. But...
Can you pass the salt, Patrick? What's it? Hey, I caught it as well.
Hey, well done.
Right, let's get stuck right in. Also, the other fact being, okay, if we're going to create a boy band, the whole looks issue that we've got with
Kieran, I know.
With Kieran, sure.
Really bad,
right, Sports Direct have demanded an inquiry into Nike.
Did that one nicely.
Nike Adidas dominance
That's right, yeah. Back to a bit of business news. Although sports business news, I mean, at the weekend you had Mike Ashley, obviously well known to the football fraternity, criticise Nike and Adidas about the supplying, but saying that they were actually being very discriminatory, not supplying all shops. He's worried that his shops are going to be cut out of various new products, flash new trainers or whatever else it might be, allows you to run marathons in under 2 hours or whatever else you can do with them. And he's actually said, look, he sort of outed them, said, look, actually, guys, this is quite anti-competitive and worrisome. What this actually really is it's all to do with the fact that he's trying to put pressure on the competition authorities. His big rival, JD Sport, are trying to buy Foot Asylum. He's worried about that that's going to increase competition against Sports Direct. And, he's brought in Nike and Adidas into the equation here. But all good fun and certainly caused a few headlines.
Yeah, indeed. No more than £1 million will be recouped from staff bonuses, says Thomas Cook.
Well, there you go. I mean, obviously, Thomas Cook collapsed a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, the gazillions, and it was a good few million, in fact, 20-odd million paid out over the last 6-7 years to senior management. Unfortunately, because very little of it was sort of under, outside of contract, can't be clawed back and related. Only about £1 million odd of it is going to be able to be clawed back in order to plough back into paying out suppliers, not so much customers, but possibly staff or any other people who are owed money by the collapse of the firm. So not so great, but unfortunately that was inevitable. I'm afraid, as employees of a company, even senior management have various protections and the like. Clearly, what's got to change here is that perhaps some of the incentives on some of these big bonuses and related perhaps should be kicked forward, so you have to sort of earn them out over 3 or 5 years. Cognizant on things such as whether the company's actually still in existence or not.
Yeah,
Tends to help.
It's a fair point. Vodafone customers hit by roaming bill shock.
Well, this is a bit of a shocker because some people got a little text saying you owe Vodafone 4,000 odd quid. Unfortunately, you're out of credit, out of data, out of everything. Please pay up. And it wasn't that they'd been on various excitable phone lines or calling from overseas or something like that. It was just that there was a glitch. The classic, computer said something and there was a glitch and boom, you got a 4,000 quid bill. So fortunately, Vodafone seemed to have recognised it. But you can bet somewhere there's somebody who's panic paid it on the basis they thought, my goodness, that dodgy phone call from, you name some far-flung country must have cost me a bit more than I thought. So there you go. Computers don't know everything.
Yeah, not good. I want to ask Patrick about these excitable phone calls as well. That's fascinated me.
I think it's sort of quiz lines.
Oh,
like
yes,
that.
yes, that's what I was thinking it was. Yeah, maybe online quizzes. Chris, as always, appreciate you coming on.
Pleasure.
Great stuff. Chris Bailey there, founder of financialorbit.com. Do you think we could create a boy band?
Yeah, what would we call it? No direction.
I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah.
We'll think of something. In fact, if you've got an idea, 0208 70 20 558, would we invite Kieran? Whisper.
Yeah,
we
will invite Kieran. Yeah, because he can dance.
Yes, we need a dancer.
We need the dancer. Instead
of
boy zone, it could just be friend zone.
It's true. It's something you know well.
Yeah,
we could have. We'd probably ideally need a fourth member, I would suggest.
Yeah. Who would we go for?
I don't know. Trying to think of anyone in the office, any other presenters maybe.
I think, Martin Bell would be the obvious choice, just the show after us. Great show.
Yeah.
Actually is a professional musician.
That helps.
Which does help in this context. However, I'd much rather have Calvin McKenzie.
I mean, he would be entertaining.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Just the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing.
The only problem is we'd make maybe a few too many front pages with some of the comments.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. When our Wembley debut just turns into a political rally. But yeah, no, anyway.
Well, there's something to consider. I mean, look, I'm always up for a business venture. You know me.
I do.
Let's discuss it during the break. I want to talk about the game itself because I feel, of course, we're focused on, the fact that it was pretty horrendous, the atmosphere there last night. A lot of the... Do we say alleged? I don't even know anymore.
It's not alleged, mate. There was Nazis there. Actual Nazis doing the whole Nazi salute.
Perfect. Well, the fact that was going on, horrendous. But the performance itself, bearing in mind we were sat here on the show yesterday and we were questioning England after the game against Czech Republic. They weren't great. The balance looked a lot better yesterday. Going forward, they were very good. By the way, 6 could have been 12.
Yeah, Gareth Southgate got it right yesterday in more ways than one. In a way that frankly he didn't against Czech Republic. Some standout performance. Raheem Sterling, he's been rated as a 9 in the Daily Mail. He's just electric, isn't he, really? And Harry Kane, I thought, was all right, finally got his goal. Marcus Rashford broke his duck as well. It was his first goal from open play, going back for at least a good couple of months, a few months. So, good finish. He got the ball rolling with that goal and put us in front. I think it was only about 5 minutes in. So, like I said, it settled a few nerves. And Southgate, you could see that celebration that he gave after the very first goal. When he came out of his dugout, he was giving it the big fist pumps. That was what it meant, just to settle the nerves a little bit and get the ball rolling.
You wonder how important that early goal was, actually, because you're right. He gets he does get animated from time to time, but you could tell that the Czech Republic game had got to him a little bit, I think, and certainly scoring that first goal early on. Yeah. Good goal from Marcus Rashford. You could argue the keeper might have done slightly better, potentially, but it was a very good goal. In fact, there were some excellent goals, by the way. Some of the football they played, probably 3 of the goals in particular, really good team goals. And I go back to the dynamic between the team. Obviously brought in 5 players, which is quite a lot to change in such a small period of time. But the players that came in have certainly made a big mark.
Yeah, well, they absolutely have. And Harry Winks was important last night because that was why Harry Kane was dropping back so deep into midfield against the Czech Republic, because there wasn't that link between the defensive midfielders in the shape of Rice and Henderson and, frankly, the forward man. And so Harry Kane found himself at times deeper than Henderson. It all looked a little bit weird, to be honest. It felt a bit mishmash and that chemistry wasn't there. But last night it was, and it was fantastic. And Ross Barkley was sensational as well. Roy Keane before, he went, where would you play Ross Barkley? And he's like, on the bench. He's not good enough. No, I don't like him. He's not great. Yep, 1 goal on the 20th minute, 1 goal on the 32nd minute. I think he got at least 1 assist as well. So not a bad night for Ross Barkley.
Yeah, but this is, okay, Roy Keane. I know we've discussed Roy Keane before. And of course, there's a lot of Roy Keane fans out there. He was a fantastic player himself. But he's not the most complimentary when it comes to talking about players. You're right. I thought Ross Barkley last night, some of the little touches as well, the way in which he linked play up, I thought he was fantastic last night. But look, we're going to be talking more about England, the performance itself. No doubt we'll touch on the racism again. And there's so much more to discuss this morning, so do stay with us. 3 minutes to 7.
This is Love Sport.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Henna men.
Cage.
Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're
secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
There are fewer than 20 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus a stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Oh, haven't we got so much coming in the next hour or so? Paul Mortimer will be on the line talking about what happened last night in Bulgaria. Of course, something that he'll be able to give us an interesting insight on, no doubt. We've also got a lot in regards to the game last night. England, of course, very good, winning 6-0 away in Bulgaria. Certainly answered a lot of the questions that we had after the game against the Czech Republic. As always, you can get in touch. I see that Clive has once again got in touch on YouTube. One of our regulars, several regulars. Do appreciate you guys getting in touch.
Clive.
0208 70 20 558 on the WhatsApp, at Love Sport Radio on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. As you mentioned, we're on YouTube too. The time is 7 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 7. England captain Harry Kane hopes Bulgaria are given the strongest possible punishment for subjecting his teammates to racist abuse. Play during last night's 6-0 win in Euro 2020 qualifying was suspended twice due to chanting from the home fans in Sofia. Kane was asked after the game what he thinks should be done about it.
Whether they should be allowed to have games in their country for the time being as a punishment, maybe that's a step forward. But look, I'm a player and I'm hurt because my friends have to go through it, and it's hard to stand there and say what the best solution is.
Health inspectors say A&E departments in England are under tremendous pressure, with more than half rated inadequate or requiring improvement. The CQC has also warned of problems in health and social care. The Prime Minister's postponed a meeting of his cabinet this morning, with Brexit talks thought to be at a delicate stage. Yesterday, EU officials warned Boris Johnson there might not be enough time to get a deal ready before Thursday's crucial summit. That could force him to ask for an extension to the Halloween Brexit deadline. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn's clear on his party's priority this week.
We will do everything in our power to prevent a no-deal exit, because we know the catastrophe it will be. To food supplies, to medicine supplies, to jobs.
Police have cleared climate change protesters from Trafalgar Square after more than a week of disruption in London. They've banned Extinction Rebellion from holding gatherings and demos in the capital. Half of adults in the UK are reportedly not getting enough sleep. A study has found it's having a detrimental effect on our health. And in sport elsewhere, Northern Ireland struck 3 times in the first half as they beat the Czech Republic 3-2 in an international friendly last night. And Cristiano Ronaldo scored his 700th career goal in Portugal's defeat in the Ukraine. It was also his 95th for the national side. That's the latest. I'm Anna Bates.
Love sport.
Hey phone, connect to Wi-Fi.
Connecting to cyber criminals.
You're not listening. I said Wi-Fi.
I'm listening. Cyber criminals could be too. Using Wi-Fi could leave your personal data exposed.
How can I keep it private?
With a secure VPN that encrypts your data, you need new Norton 360. It has multiple layers of protection, including VPN, device security, password manager, and more.
Ooh.
Go to uk.norton.com to get all-in-one protection starting at $24.99 for your first year. Terms apply. That's uk.norton.com.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Morning, Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio, me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Lots going on in the world of sport this morning. Of course, England victorious yesterday in Bulgaria, winning 6-0, but it was the racist chanting which makes most of the headlines in the papers today. We're going to be talking about that in more detail this hour. Lots more going on as well. Cristiano Ronaldo, 700 career goals. We'll also be touching on that, and lots to discuss in the world of cricket, tennis, and rugby too. I'm here with Patrick.
Yeah, there's also, we're going to come on to this, a brilliant article about how much the England rugby coach and the Australian rugby coach hate each other and their past war of words. And so it leads us to only one conclusion, Rich.
Go on.
That those two men should fight each other for money.
I mean, that's always the conclusion.
Absolutely, yeah. Screw the rugby. Doesn't matter. I want to see Eddie Jones and Xhaka go at it.
Who wins?
I reckon it'd be one of those fights where you'd still be looking at it in about 4 hours' time, and you'd just be like, "Oh, come on, boys, just call it a day." Like, no, leave me. Like, guys, it's been going on for hours here.
Kieran doesn't think Eddie Jones got a chance.
Do you reckon? No. Yeah, I mean, it looks that way, but I reckon
he's got a significant reach advantage.
But I reckon he bites. I reckon he bites. I reckon he pulls hair. I reckon he goes just the eyes out.
Yeah, Eddie does whatever he needs to do to win.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, which is why we love him.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, the Tasmanian devil.
The little Tasmanian devil. Right, from that to racism. Of course, so smooth.
Yes.
Let's talk about this last night. Let's hear it from Mings, his post-match conference.
I don't feel like it's a personal attack. I feel more sorry for the people that feel like they have to express those views. Whilst it doesn't affect me, we had to follow the correct protocols and let the appropriate people know, just so that we were doing all we can to represent everybody who was potentially being abused.
So in years to come, Tyrone Mings hangs up his shirt on the wall and How does he remember this? His first England appearance?
Well, I don't know, but I get the impression that actually he will remember it for a 6-0 win.
Yeah.
First and foremost, a clean sheet, and he played exceptionally well last night. His composure on the ball, his range of passing was evident as well. His pace, everything. So fantastic England debut for Tyrone Mings. But yeah, you're right, Rich. There's always going to be that element of, look at that shirt. What else happened that game? Oh yeah, the Nazis.
Yeah, and I mean, thanks for the messages that are coming in. So we've had one. The Bulgarian manager said he had never heard racial abuse in previous Bulgarian home matches. However, the ground last night was partially closed by UEFA for racist chants in previous home matches.
Yeah, exactly. 2013 at that ground at Levska Sofia, they celebrated Adolf Hitler's birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty big indication that normally, as a rule of thumb in life, Rich, I think, we can be on the fence, can't we, a lot of the time about whether or not somebody is an out-and-out racist. But, I think that time when you catch them celebrating Adolf Hitler's birthday, that's normally the one that does it for me. That's normally, Gary, no, you are a racist, aren't you? Yeah.
You look for those little red flags.
Yeah, there's little red flag. Well, literally, actually, in the case of the whole Hitler thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, very much so. I mean, but that is it's just nuts anyway.
Yeah, that message received, by the way. Clive, thank you very much. I'd say messages can come in 0208 70 20 558 on WhatsApp or on YouTube or on the social. Southgate said he is disappointed that players are already hardened to racism in the UK.
Sadly, my players, because of their experiences in our own country, are hardened to racism. And I don't know what that says about our society, but that's the reality. So that actually saddens me that when I speak to them about it, they are absolutely hardened to it. So they actually are in the dressing room smiling because they've played so well. They also know they've made a statement, and they want the focus to be on the football.
They have made a statement. Is this something that will lessen with generations? Like, is it something that we're just going to have to wait time in that? I don't know. And this, I try and make my point here and make it as succinctly as I possibly can. But of course, years ago it was worse, and it has got better, certainly in this country, of course. And you think back to the terraces not that long ago where there were very few black players playing in the English Football League. Then of course things have changed, and it has gradually got better, by far from being perfect, of course, and there's still lots of stuff that goes on now, but it is gradually getting there. Is it just simply a case that it's just going to be a ton of conversations and a lot of years until the next generation, the generation after that, the generation after that, where suddenly it's nothing anymore, and people will talk about hundreds of years ago when this kind of thing happened?
Well, I hope so. I mean, the fact is that
I hope it happens quicker, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But I think, look, there are always going to be racists everywhere. And by the way, it's wrong to think that there are just racists like here or in Europe. Like there are massive racists in places like Pakistan and Africa and all these kind of things. Like racism is everywhere. You're going to get racist accountants, racist lawyers, racist doctors, right? Just from racist kind of unemployed scumbags that wander around, shouting things about Tommy Robinson and stuff like that. So it is always going to exist, unfortunately. However, I do take a lot of comfort in the fact that I personally feel in my generation, I honestly have never been in an environment through any group of friends or at school or anything genuinely where I have heard anyone my age who has had genuine racist beliefs, like out and out racist beliefs. And that has to be reassuring, because that clearly wouldn't have been the case in the 70s or the 80s. So obviously that has improved. But I just think when it comes to places like this, like Bulgaria, I looked at it last night and I actually thought, no, they're beyond help. Like, they are beyond help. You've shut a stadium because of racism. You've done as many warnings as you can. You follow the protocol, and actually, Mad Olaf is there with a shirt that says no respect. He's doing a Nazi salute. Like, screw him.
Well, that's why I say about generational, because you look at them, as much as you talk about education, well, do you know what? You could sit all them down in a classroom and explain, it ain't going to make any difference.
They can't count the number of teeth they've got. They've only got 4.
So this is the point. The racism there, the racism within them won't ever leave them. That's there. Like, it is who they are. And they're so, you could see how much they actually fed off being around each other, and that was their gang mentality. Well, look, that's only going to die when they die.
It was just the pathetic look on their faces. I don't know if you've seen all the videos, but it's like the kind of like really silly little kind of smiles that they're all doing as they're making monkey noises and doing Nazi salutes. Like, can we just for a second just imagine the idea, Rich, that I would ever go to you, or anyone in the studio, right, let's go off to the football tonight. Yeah. Okay, yeah, shall we all make sure we bring our balaclavas, right? Fantastic. And do your arm stretches, boys, because we'll be whacking out the old Nazi salutes again, won't we? I can never imagine being in that situation. Right, but loads of Bulgarian people can. So there we go.
Apparently so. Harry Kane gave his view.
Whether they should be allowed to have games in their country for the time being as a punishment, maybe that's a step forward. But look, I'm a player and I'm hurt because my friends have to go through it, and it's hard to stand there and say what the best solution is.
I mean, look, we're going to be talking about this a lot today, no doubt, and Paul Mortimer's going to be coming on later. Our very own Paul Mortimer to give his views on this, but I really do want to touch more on the football because, again, it's a shame because actually last night, we spoke yesterday on the show and I said, from my point of view, for us to then forget about what happened against the Czech Republic, because it was a poor night, it was a really poor night, but for us to just see it as a one-off and not get too carried away, we needed to win this game and win it convincingly. I said it needs to be 4-0 minimum, and it was 4-0 very early on, and actually could have been a lot more. The goalkeeper ended up making a few saves second half, probably weren't quite as clinical as we might have been. That being said, some of the goals we did score were excellent, and I thought the number of passes, at one point the stat came up about the number of passes that we'd had in the evening. It was a good 4 or 5 times as many as Bulgaria, and we just dictated the game, controlled it start to finish. That being said, Jordan Pickford, couple of saves, I thought he did his job very well, but the defence were very good. Certainly Bulgaria weren't great, don't get me wrong. I think from the Bulgarian teams I remember of years ago, they are so far from that now, and I don't know what's happened there, and so many levels, not just the racism stuff we're talking about, but the fact that as a team, you wonder whether they're developing players. I can't see it, but England had a job to do. They went, they did it, and I thought they were very, very good. And there were certain individuals, I thought Harry Winks coming in has certainly done himself no harm at all. There were a couple of others as well. I mean, Ross Barkley we've touched on, I thought was very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Ross Barkley got 2 goals. He was a bit of a creative force as well, which is nice to see. Harry Winks coming in as well and just providing that link between the midfield and the strikers that was good. Tyrone Mings again, good debut. I mean, there were no bad performances from England last night whatsoever. Look, at the end of the day, we can't just deny the fact that Bulgaria were not a particularly great team. However, we still made them look awful. I mean, really awful. And I think I just remember when the final whistle blew last night, and it was 6-0. You know, just remembering all those years actually of watching England as we just about beat teams like Slovakia 1-0. Or, you know, this kind of game, it's the exact kind of game where we'd have gone to Bulgaria and got a 2-1 win. And you think, actually, we just smashed them. Yeah. And like we are in the elite now, aren't we? Actually, we are. Spain would have beaten this lot 6-0. Germany might have beaten them 6-0. Brazil might have beaten them 6-0. England beat them 6-0. It's good.
Yeah, well, England have scored 5+ goals in 4 of their 8 games in 2019. They'd only scored 5+ in 4 of their 76 matches prior. So. No, they've certainly, the way in which they're playing, they're creating so many chances now, which this goes back to what we said about years ago, where it used to be a bit frustrating watching England, where, they get the win a lot of the time, but it would be a bit of a dull performance. It would be this kind of game. They might go there and get a 1-0 or get a 2-0, a late goal, and all of a sudden now they go in there and they're playing free-flowing football. It's nice to see.
Yes, it is nice to see. Cristiano Ronaldo scored his 700th career goal last night, Rich, from the penalty spot for Portugal. What an absolute hero.
Indeed. And 2 of them were against me, of course.
Oh, yes. So
nice.
You feel now presumably in some way responsible.
Well,
in a good way.
I've helped him get to that total.
Really?
Of course,
you've helped a lot of people get the goal to the
I really have. Yes. I am a striker's dream, especially if they're low on confidence. No, it makes me feel slightly better that 698 of the goals weren't against me.
No, of course. I mean, to be honest with you, mate, that'd be nuts if 698 were. Yeah. I don't think you'd be here now.
No,
you'd have never left your room.
Wouldn't have had much of a career, really. But no, you're right. 700 goals, insane. And the 2 he got against me out, but just one was a penalty, so not a great deal you can do there.
Not at all.
No, and the other one was
you do have a better penalty saving record than Petr Cech, which is a fact, isn't it?
I do. That
just run our listeners through that fact.
I've saved 18 in 199 games. Petr Cech has saved 17 in a lot more games.
Have a bit of that, Petr.
Hey, I'll show you my Ibiza Cup award.
Yeah.
I'll take your Premier League and Champions League awards and I'll match you.
Yeah.
He was, of course, the hero in the ice hockey.
Yeah.
Which we did touch on yesterday, which I saw the footage actually last night. He was brilliant. He's so good.
Yeah.
How can you go from playing football to ice hockey? Anyway, nothing to do with what we're talking about. Ronaldo, legend.
Yeah, full-time legend. Well done, Cristiano. 700 goals. It just reminds me of that Ian Holloway quote. I think he was Blackpool manager, and I can't remember whether or not it was just Ronaldo was playing for United or they had a really bizarre pre-season game against Real Madrid or something. And he goes like, he was like, they asked him about Cristiano Ronaldo, like, how do you stop him? And he was like, oh, he's just incredible, etc., etc. Can I just only hope that he's hung like a hamster? And everyone's like, what? All right, Ian, chill out, mate.
He's got some classics. We'll no doubt play that in a bit. We're going to be talking more England?
Yeah, more England football, absolutely. We're going to be getting stuck into that. England 6-0, of course. The Lions 6, Animals 0. However, there's also some from the world of rugby, because England go and play on Australia, and there's a war of words that's been bubbling away for years between the England coach Eddie Jones and the Aussie coach Chika, and it's just stunning. So we're going to get stuck into all those quotes.
16 minutes past 7.
I have a strong connection with Scotland. I believe my tan shade is iron blue.
This is Love Sport.
The Novotel London Blackfriars, the official hotel partner of Love Sport. Located just minutes away from the city and London's famous South Bank. You can kick back and taste the flavours of the world at the Jamboree Bar and Grill and enjoy all the sights of London in style. The Novotel London Blackfriars.
You all right, mate? Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it. Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Hi, I'm Barry. I'm a retired school bursar from Chingford. I thought I was paying too much for my energy and went onto a spokesmansaid.com and found that I could reduce my costs overall by £568 per annum, and I'm very grateful for that help.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
This is Love Sport.
Last for break. First, we're online digital radio and your Alexa smart speaker. Myself, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. Patrick, want to talk a little bit of rugby? We've obviously gone through a lot of the football from last night. On the whole, a very good night for England, certainly on the field. Of course, we touched on a lot of those issues off the field. Going to be speaking to Paul Mortimer shortly to get his view on that. But I know you want to talk a little bit of rugby.
Yes, absolutely. So England are going to face Australia in 4 days' time at the Rugby World Cup in the quarterfinals. And there is no love lost whatsoever between Eddie Jones and Cheika, the Australian coach. Now, there's a little piece in the Mail here about some of the war of words that they've had. And Cheika has dug Eddie Jones out a few times about the fact that when he was managing Japan, they then made a film about essentially their one victory over South Africa. So he just kind of had a bit of a pop at him about that, where he's like, yeah, well, we're just here to win. We're not here really for the book deal or the films. And it was like, oh, okay, it started. Oh, it's kicked off already. And Eddie Jones is basically, oh, it's all smoke from Cheika at the moment. He's boxing clever, but I know there'll be no shock selections coming. Cheika gets involved. I wouldn't know Eddie Jones if I didn't play footy with him at Randwick. We wouldn't have associated. Cheika, then, he's always operated with the chip on his shoulder. Now there isn't a chip and things are going well. He's got to keep looking for one. Eddie Jones, well, obviously Australia enjoy the media more than the referee. Cheika feels the referees haven't done a good job, so possibly he should be taking that up with the referee and not the media. So it's just bubbling at the moment. It's just simmering, which has made me one thing, Rich. Makes me think one thing. Fight each other.
Yeah.
Actually fight.
Like a charity, or just fight each other?
Just do it.
Nah.
Just do it.
No need to create it.
Get in, maybe at the start of the game, like there's normally the hacker if you are, if a New Zealander. Screw that. I reckon just do it in true English and Australian fashion. We just go 9 pints, fight.
all the players could hold hands and create a circle.
Yeah.
Put them both in the middle.
Yeah.
No one's allowed out until we get
absolutely. Stop the bouncers from coming in to kick everyone out. Just go, whoa, no, let him finish. And just a bit of that.
Does Eddie Jones have a chance if that were the case?
I think Eddie Jones has got something up his sleeve, hasn't he? Eddie Jones looks to me like the type of man that you could hit in the face with a brick 20 times and nothing would happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We just like, oh, really, Eddie? Are you all right? Yeah, hit me again. Hit me again. So he looks like that. So I think there'd be all sorts. It would be one of those scraps where you're still looking at it and like, you know, when sometimes you see like fights on YouTube of like the traveller community when they obviously like a bare knuckle fight, don't they? And sometimes there's some of those where it goes on for like 4 hours, and by the end everyone's like, boys, just stop it. Like, come on. I think it'd be one of those.
Yeah. Would be interested, of course. Big game coming up for England. We'll be talking about that in detail further in the show. I know there's some stuff going on the front pages. We like to touch on the front pages from time to time. I know there's an interesting story in regards to a brown flake.
Oh, you spotted this, didn't you, Rich?
I mean, it caught my attention because, you know, look, on the front page of The Sun, of course, it's always hard-hitting journalism. But on the third page of The Sun...
Oh, there it is.
There's a serious issue.
There's usually a serious couple of issues on the third page of The Sun.
So...
Oh, gosh, look at those issues.
Yeah, you're looking at a brown flake.
Yeah.
So explain to the listeners what's been going on.
Sorry, just drifted off there for a minute. So a stunned mum tipped out a 5-inch bran flake as big as a cereal bowl.
Wow.
Monstrous, isn't it?
Is it that big?
And Parker, 38, reckons the breakfast monster is 12 times larger than normal.
Wow.
12 times larger than normal, Rich.
There you go. That is a big old bran flake.
Well, it's not the size of the bran flake, is it, Rich? It's what you do with it. So,
indeed.
Yeah.
So that was one of the great stories on the front pages. I think there's a couple of other ones of interest as well.
Oh, there was a really awkward moment that happened yesterday in World of Politics, which is not the first time, where Boris Johnson, there was the Queen's speech.
Yeah.
Now, I was waiting for the Queen to sit there and just capture the hearts of the nation by at some point just pulling down the speech, just going, it's Rebecca Vardy's account, just to try and crowbar that in, but no, she didn't. She kept it very serious.
I haven't seen too much on the whole Rebecca Vardy Colleen Rooney thing today. It sounds like it's died off a little bit.
There's not a lot today. Yeah, absolutely. Some pictures did emerge of Rebecca Vardy blubbing her eyes out at an airport, which you hate to see. But yeah, no, that's kind of where we are with that at the minute. But yeah, just a quick kind of whiz through on the whole Queen's speech thing. Basically, Boris wants to try and improve numbers of police, the NHS, education system, all the standard stuff, essentially. He also wants to introduce an Australian-style points-based immigration system post-Brexit, which basically means that if the needs of a country... So sometimes in Australia, they'll really need hairdressers, or they'll really need nurses, or they'll really need electricians, or they'll really need whatever, because things fluctuate in society.
Of course, yeah.
So then that's what they'll target their immigration system at. So they'll go, right, okay, we'll put you... So if you are an electrician, and we need electricians, then you get bumped up towards the top of the immigration list. That's essentially what Boris Johnson wants to do.
So, for instance, people listen to this show, if they didn't like us, they might say we really need radio hosts.
Exactly.
And they could go and source.
And they'd outsource radio hosts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, actually, now you've said that.
It's a bit concerning.
It's
I'm not sure if I
idea.
like this idea.
What a shocking idea that is, Boris.
I mean, Boris, what are you playing at?
Screw you, Boris.
It's actually quite a clever idea, though, all in all.
Yeah, not bad. Well, yeah, I mean, look, to be honest with you, a lot of people think it is, so yeah, fine.
We'll go with it. Cool.
I'm one of those people.
Anything else of note on the front pages, or should we delve back into the back?
No, let's get back into sport.
Let's
get back
do that.
into sport. So clearly England won 6-0 last night. Lions 6, Animals 0. Tyrone Mings' debut was very, very good. He was very solid, good in possession. We managed to overcome a lot of racist people in the stand who were doing Nazi salutes and holding up banners that said no respect. It's just, bonkers anyway.
Well, for the first time this morning, producer Kieran has pulled down his mic, put on his headset, and he's got words of wisdom.
Yeah, just on that racist incidents that we saw yesterday. Basically, my massive problem with this is Bulgaria have just refused to accept that there was an issue.
To acknowledge it.
We've seen, ITV caught it all in plain sight. They caught it the audio of monkey chants. They caught visual of monkey chants. They caught visual of Nazi salutes. They caught audio of, just moaning and awful, awful scenes. but the Bulgaria outlets have refused to acknowledge that there's any problems. So
is this... We were talking about athletics a few days ago and how certain individuals were coming out and pretty much dismissing the Salazar case to an extent. Is it the same thing where it's almost we don't want to accept that this is true? Is it that?
I don't know. I don't think so. I just think it's such like an embarrassment for these Bulgarian, journalists and whoever's reporting on this, that they just refuse to accept that this is a reflection of their country. And I want to read a translated article from a Bulgarian news outlet that someone on Twitter, Gordon Sparks, who works for BBC Radio Devon, has translated. England's football players kept their promise and stopped playing in the 25th minute of the match with Bulgaria and Sofia. With a 2-0 score for the guests, referee Ivan Babek received a signal from UEFA officials that there had been a violation of the rules. The football players of the guests signalled the same. The stadium announcer, in turn, urged supporters not to offend racially motivated rivals, although no such sounds were heard during the meeting. I mean...
Okay.
Bizarre.
Yeah, okay.
Eventually, after the brief announcement, the game was resumed. However, in the 40th minute, the referee again stopped the game under pressure from the players of the Three Lions. In the end, the first half was extended by 6 minutes, and at the break, Captain Ivelin Popov spoke in person with some of the fans stationed in Section A, urging them to act ethically. According to unconfirmed information, Gareth Southgate players did not want to leave for the second half, but in the end, it happened. So it's just very odd to see that this is how it's being reported in Bulgaria.
Yeah, apparently Gareth Southgate was told to F off by a Bulgarian cameraman after his pre-game talk as well.
His post-match talk,
kind of
where
just
it obviously
sums it up, really, doesn't it?
Referenced the racism. A Bulgarian journalist literally stopped him halfway through.
But I reckon, right, with these Bulgarian journalists, I don't know if any of them are married, but let's just say one of them is, right? Let's just say that guy's married, right? And he's been with his wife like 15 years. And he walks in one day, he comes home from work, from just writing absolute filth. And he comes home and he just sees his missus with Olaf from next door. And Olaf's there and, they're doing it. And he goes, oh, okay, well, I mean, there was absolutely no indication whatsoever that I saw my wife cheat. Sometimes, mate, something's happening right in front of your eyes and you just have to acknowledge it. You wouldn't do that in any other walk of life. You wouldn't just bury your head in the sand and go, oh, no, I didn't see my wife doing anything. No, you did. Same way you heard monkey noises.
Yeah.
You saw the Nazi salutes,
Absolutely.
and you saw a load of racists. Let's just call it what it is.
Well, we should call it what it is, and let's hear what the Bulgarian manager had to say after the game. Let's see if his comments reflect the rest of the Bulgarian media.
Let me tell you that even though you all know that Bulgaria has had disciplinary measures against our union, those have not been because of racist chanting or ethnic hatred. Those were is referring to the fact that the stadium was partly closed because of the display of a banner for an organization which is not forbidden by Bulgarian law, and for a small third-party group of people who were chanting in the game against Kosovo. Either way, this all happened. This became a topic after we played at Wembley, and it absolutely replaced football as the main topic, which I don't think is fair. But of course, I think this is an extremely serious and sensitive topic. I have always had my firm stance against racism, and if something is proven to be true, and if there was this actual abuse, then once again we have to say that this is a big shame.
How can he come out and say if it's proven? Like, it happened? Like, what world are these people living in? It's like when Mo Farah's like, no, Salazar's not done anything. This isn't about Mo Farah.
It's the point that actually, just while we're doing this, Mo Farah, there was some audio yesterday of him saying that he felt like he was being criticised because it was racism.
Yeah.
Because he's black. Basically, that it was racist. That they were saying that he might have some questions to answer over the fact that his trainer has just been banned for a load of doping violations, and that illegal drugs were found in the flat that he used to share with that trainer just before the London Olympics in 2012. That's not racism, Mo. What we heard last night was racism. All right, and how dare he actually, in the face of, I'd love him to go and, because he mentioned Raheem Sterling in his piece in Mo Farah. He went, I've seen it happen with Raheem. I've seen that happen before. Lewis Hamilton. I can't win. I can't do that. I tell you what, actually, just go and have a word with Raheem Sterling about exactly what it's like to play in a stadium full of racists. And I think, Mo, maybe you're barking up the wrong tree there, mate.
Yeah. Interestingly as well, they only had 2 minutes injury time at the end of the game, which, bearing in mind there was a couple of goals, a few substitutions, they just wanted to get that game over. You know, as soon as the 90 minutes was up, they wanted to blow that final whistle. We're going to be talking more about this with Paul Mortimer shortly, 7:30.
Love sport.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it, sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Hi, I'm Dean. I work for a successful shipping company in Suffolk. Ever since I heard about people's success with the spokesmansaid.com, I knew I had to investigate for myself. Every time I need to compare car insurance, home insurance and energy bills, I always contact a spokesmansaid.com. This year alone, I saved over £260 on my car insurance and also £585 on my energy bills. I saved big through a spokesmansaid.com, and you could too.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle, or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
This is Love Sport.
Love for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, and Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Of course, the big stories today are in regards to England. A good performance on the field, but of course, one of the big talking points is very much what happened off the field. We're going to be speaking to Paul Mortimer shortly to get his views on that. Of course, the Bulgarians denying the racism, saying that it was all very much alleged, despite the fact that we're seeing video after video. Just on that, Patrick, because, again, we've heard now a couple of different people from Bulgaria effectively saying, if it's proven, like, this is a bit I'll never understand, is that we can see now, unless somebody has very cleverly adapted the video, and maybe that's video from 10 years ago. Like, no, we're seeing it. We can see them doing the salutes. We can see them mouthing the monkey chants, and we can hear them. What more do we need?
They're like flat earthers, aren't they? So they're like people that go like, oh, no. I know that we've seen all this evidence from NASA, and I've seen the fact that the Earth is round, and if I climb that mountain there, you can just see the curvature of the Earth, but hey, until it's proven, I'll think it's flat. It's like, right, we're nuts, aren't you?
So this is it. So then what needs to happen? Do you know what? I know the Italians had it not so long ago. I know it was the issues they had was at Juventus. I think it was. Anyway, whatever. But it's it's the same kind of thing. Like, what actually needs to happen for them to be like, do you know what? Look, it's bad. Okay, hold my hands up. Instantly take responsibility and say, look, I know it's bad. The fact the captain's going over at half time and he's pleading with the fans, like, look, this game's going to be called off. You're killing us here.
No, I thought last night actually for the first time, and I don't want this to sound like defeatist or anything, but I just thought there was no point. Like, I just thought actually there's clearly no amount of education, pre-game warning, UEFA protocol, just general disgust.
How does that change, though, like, long-term? And obviously it has done all over the world gradually, or in lots of parts of the world. Lots of parts it hasn't, by the way. Like, we have so many conversations here. This is a bit we'll never know. We don't know on Bulgarian radio this morning whether it's even coming up.
Probably not.
So that's the point. So then how's it ever going to change? At some point, something needs to happen. It's those big moments that need to happen.
Yeah, but... And this is why I don't want to sound defeatist, because obviously you should try and educate and, change perceptions and all that kind of stuff and just try and stop it from happening. I'm out of ideas in terms of what we could do for that part of the world and for those people that are there, because... despite all of that, the amount of out-and-out Nazis that turned up to watch a game of football last night was just bonkers. So, like, I honestly just don't see what it is that could be done anymore, short of just making sure that these countries don't play international football in front of their home crowds.
Yeah, and it is as simple as that. But then does that I suppose you think of how you treat children. If you punish children, you're trying to look for a certain reaction. Even that doesn't guarantee that it's necessarily going to change anything.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, they should just be locked up and the like, shouldn't they? Really?
Yeah. Well, look, we're going to be speaking to Paul Mortimer very shortly on this subject. Of course, somebody who's going to be able to give us much more of an insight that we can give, and we'll be doing that right after this.
Love sport.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
This is Love Sport.
This is Love Sport. Delighted to say we do have Mr. Paul Mortimer, my co-host on a Sunday, who is on the line right now. Mr. Mortimer, how are we?
I'm fine, Mr. Lee. I hope you're well, my friend.
Embarrassingly well, thank you very much. Delighted to have you on. Look, we've been talking all morning, as much as we're trying to talk about the football itself, because it was very good on the field. Certainly a positive change from the game against the Czech Republic, but naturally the majority of the conversation has been in regards to what happened off the field yesterday. The fact that they used 2 of their 3 strikes. The game did finish in the end, but of course it wasn't a positive night in many respects. What was your take?
Well, I watched it with a bit of a heavy heart, but also knowing full well that this had to happen. It sounds really weird, but it's a good thing because there is no confusion around whether racist abuse happens at games. This has highlighted the fact that it actually does happen. And there's a couple of things that are a bit bizarre, that the 3-step protocol means, Rich, that I could racially abuse you twice and it's okay. It's only the third time it becomes an issue, number one. And number two, they followed the first part of the 3-step protocol. But then the second bit, from what I gather, they offered the opportunity to the players to whether they wanted to carry on playing, when really what should be happening is the decision's taken away from the players. It shouldn't be left to the players because we're players, Rich. We want to play.
Yeah.
And it should be taken away.
No, you're spot on. That being said, we touched on this morning that the Bulgarian manager's come out and just hasn't owned up to it. It's just bizarre. Like, it's, if this is proven, it's like, well, we can see it. You were there. Like, we can all see it. There was a part of the statement from Kick It Out which read, we're encouraged that the protocol was initially enforced by the match officials, but UEFA must explain why players weren't sent to the dressing room during step 2, as it clearly stated in the rules. TV footage also clearly shows the racist abuse continued in the second half, so it's unacceptable that step 3 was not enforced. This match should have been abandoned by the officials. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, they weren't going to do it, though. They were not going to do it. I'm sitting there literally screaming at the telly. Well, step 2, they should now be taking the players off the pitch. We can still hear it. People are still saying it's happening in the second half. What are they doing? And they sat on their hands because this is a first. I don't think in an international game of this profile it's happened. So there was a bit of hesitancy and a bit of fear. But, before the game, I remember Raheem Sterling saying, we have to trust the UEFA. We have to trust the process. Well, the process, for me, has not worked. No. And further to that, when you have the Bulgarian manager saying, there has been no racism, what message is he sending to those people who are the perpetrators? He's telling them that they're doing nothing wrong. Yeah. And so his words, I think there should be sanctions on him as well.
Do you know the one I want to touch on? You mentioned it there, is that this whole 3-strike policy, and we were joking about it earlier. It's not a funny subject, but it is. Like, you can effectively, you almost saw, like, parts of the crowd, they would use up their 2 strikes, and it was as soon as the second warning came, it was almost like you could see them saying to each other, all right, that's me. Cheers, guys. I'm off. I'll see you next week.
True.
I'll use up my 2 next week. Start again. It's just, it's insane.
Well, when it comes to anti-discrimination, education and sanctions, we always talk about zero tolerance. Zero tolerance apparently means that you have a couple of opportunities before zero tolerance kicks in. That doesn't make sense. In a world where we want to educate people as to the right ways to deal with things, we have to be robust and firm in the way we're doing it. And I'm really looking forward to what UEFA do about this, because they must show leadership.
Yeah, morning, Morts, mate. It's great to have you
morning.
on. The only thing is, last night, the depressing thing for me was I was looking at them and I was like, are you actually beyond education? Because the amount of, I know it's not to say that we should stop trying, but like, the amount of warnings before that game, the amount of attention that was brought to it, and then we just saw several real-life actual Nazis rock up and continue to do it. And I just remember thinking, At what point do we just stop trying in that country and just take away international football for them? Like, what's your stance on that?
Well, I agree. I think we're at the stage now. Now, the irony, Patrick, is that we're in a half-filled stadium because they've got previous.
Yeah,
that for me is the irony. So what we're saying is what they're actually highlighting in the moment is that the sanctions don't work because, like I say, we're in the stadium that's half-filled because of racist issues with people being racist again. So what should actually happen now is they stay in the tournament, but they're suspended from playing games. So it's almost like you're that little kid on the outside of the shop looking in at the sweets but can't have them. You can look, but you can't play. Because until you behave yourselves, until you educate your nation in terms of how they behave, you can just sit and watch and continue to lose points and continue not to your seeding to drop and continue to not have international football in your country.
The other part to this is that with technology now, like you can visually see, who's been making the chants, who's doing the actual the Nazi salute, etc. You can see it. So there must be 70, 80 people at least that I would have seen that if they've got the facial recognition or whatever they can use, then surely a lot of these people can be dug out very, very early on. The other one I wanted to ask you about was, of course, the Bulgarian captain going over at half-time. The fact that the manager's kind of denying it to an extent and saying, if it's proven. Look, the Bulgarian captain went over to the fans at half-time and it looked like he was pleading with them for them to stop.
Rich, we all know the Bulgarian manager's asking us not to trust our eyes and our ears. It's incredible that he still denies. Well, to be honest, it's difficult for him. How can you actually acknowledge that within your country this is happening? We have to do it in our country as well.
Yeah.
But he's got to acknowledge that this has happened. It has taken place, and then we can actually start to take steps to implement procedures to be able to help them because they need help.
Yeah, well,
they need sanctions, but they need help.
Part of it is, and I'll always look at agendas, you always put yourself in someone's shoes, and I guess if you're the Bulgarian manager and given that large sections of your fans have this mentality, I guess as part of it as well is that you've got to be careful what you say because there's a lot of people out there that if you talk against them, that could then impact you personally. So I guess there's so many different things at play here, but I guess that's a concern because then long term it goes back to it. We talk about education, and I think when you get the minority, and it is the minority over here, I would argue, then there is a potential for reform. There's a potential for education. I just watched that last night and Patrick's made the point. You just wonder what has to happen. You mentioned that it might be they get banned and it's like the sweet shop, you're looking inside. Does that make a difference, or is it just something that's going to be generational that over time, like we've seen improvements here over the last 100 years, over time it will happen, but they're just a lot way further back than maybe we are?
Oh, they are. I mean, I looked at that kind of over racism. It was almost like from the 70s, almost like when I was playing in the 80s. You know, that's what it took me back to. Now, what's happened to us in this country is reform, is sanctions, is harsher penalties, and that's what has to happen. The penalties need to be harsh, and if it means they miss tournaments or they don't have international football in their country, because it's not just about skin colour, their racism. You know, it was against, I think it was Kosovo and Czech Republic recently. So, you know, it's across the board. So you know, they need education. They need it now. And maybe what has to happen is they're not allowed to entertain international football in their country until they improve their behaviour.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's interesting talking to you, Morts, on this, because as you say, you did play back in the 50s when it was such a... sorry, my bad. Hey.
Come on, at this time in the morning.
You know what, Rich? In that, I could see your face. I know you were going to give it to me. You're a creature of habit. You can't help yourself.
I can't, Morts. I love the fact that you're on the phone and I can actually do it without you cutting me off before. The problem is now, Patrick, you see, we do the show and he knows when I'm about to say something. He can see it. He can sense it. And he preempts it. I know. I get excited. I get really excited.
But I was just on this. So I was in Croatia recently, and they've had issues with racism at football games there. And I was chatting to a lad who was like my age, who was a football fan, but not like one of these ultras lot. And he was saying that like the vast majority of people aren't like that, but a lot of the ultra groups they're Nazis, basically. And he was saying that actually one of the ideas is just to go round primary schools or go round secondary schools or go round like just normal people. Essentially, you find them on the street in Croatia or Bulgaria or wherever, and just give them tickets. Because he was like, the average person does not go to a football match to give a Nazi salute, but the ultras do. And at the minute, the ultras are the ones buying the tickets. So I don't know whether or not, Morts, that might be something that you think, well, you still want people to go to games, obviously. You still want fans there. Maybe in these countries, they should just be giving them to essentially randomers on the street or school kids or something like that.
Well, I think what needs to happen, what you're literally saying there is help is needed. Education is needed, and not just around racism, but on how to get the right type of fan to watch a football match. Yeah. So they probably do need help from other nations, and possibly that happens while they're banned from being able to entertain other nations in their country, possibly. But I think what should happen is, yes, I don't want to vilify the Bulgarians because it must have been it's a sad day for Bulgarian football, but education is needed. And if we can help in any way to improve the situation there, so that when international football goes there, the people do behave themselves, and you know what? They can be critical of players' performances. That's not a problem at all, as Rich will tell you, because he was always criticised. But
Here he is.
But on a serious note, education will help. But I'm waiting for UEFA and FIFA because they have to step forward and show some guts and show some bottle and deal with it properly and quickly.
Yeah, indeed. Well played, Morts. Well played. I will see you on Sunday, Mr. Mortimer. Thank you very much.
Yes, my friend. See you. Have a good day.
Good man. You too. Paul Mortimer there. Taking a break this morning to give us a quick call, which we do appreciate. Absolutely.
I just want to whiz us through some of the smaller sporting stories that you might have missed quickly.
Please do.
So Ronnie O'Sullivan, Rocket Ronnie, still says that Crawley, where he's playing, is an absolute hellhole, and the best thing about it is the M23 out of there.
Oh, still?
Yeah, still says that. Still smells slightly bad. Also, Andy Ruiz Jr., who's taking on Anthony Joshua, has lost a shed-load of weight.
Oh.
Yeah, seriously. He's no longer like the kind of human burrito.
Really?
And the human nacho where he goes, that's nacho food, it's mine, and then he eats it all.
Clever.
It's not that at all, it's not really. He's not. He's lost some weight. He really has lost some weight. And also Dan Evans marked his first game as British #1 by beating fellow bad boy Bernard Tomic.
Right, we're going to be talking concussion, of course, on the back of Daniel James, the issues, and we'll be talking about that after this.
I told Melania that she draws her eyebrows on far too high. She looked so surprised.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it, sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Hi, my name's Bob. I'm a retired civil servant from Durham. I used the advice that a spokesman said gave me to haggle with Sky to reduce my monthly payments from £86 per month to £43 per month, which was a saving of £774 over the 18-month contract. A nice little result, if I say so myself, but it was only due to a spokesman said on his brilliant advice that I was able to do a deal for the new contract.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
This is Love Sport.
Last for breakfast, me originally Patrick Christys here with you until 10. Of course, there was the incident. We're going to be talking a lot about this. Ryan Giggs came out and said that Daniel James was acting. Well, Luke Griggs, Deputy Chief Executive of Headway UK, spoke to Johnny Burrow and Martin Allen on Posh Boys on Drive yesterday about the Daniel James incident in the Wales-Croatia game on Sunday and whether football should do more in regard to head injuries.
I think it's very difficult for us to see from afar, unless there's clear and obvious signs that a player is concussed. And by clear and obvious would mean, for example, if he was staggering or he was clearly looking dazed or confused or groggy or what have you. So when we're looking from afar, it can be difficult without those symptoms. Now, we all saw that footage, and we saw, as you say, Daniel James appearing to be, to suffering a loss of consciousness. And by the way, in concussions, it's only around 10% of times is loss of consciousness a factor, so we can't rely on that solely. But we saw what we saw, and it was obviously concerning. So then something's either gone wrong here. Either the medics haven't taken this if in doubt, sit it out approach, because I think it's fair to say that you could have suspected, not proven, but suspected a concussion, or, as we found out later, something else has gone on in the fact that the player seems to have been play acting, which is hugely concerning.
And what about those play acting accusations? Because beyond whether or not Daniel James was playing up to the referee, there is then a serious question about teams trying to use concussion regulations as a loophole to gain a sporting advantage.
And that is where we are really concerned. We have been at the forefront of petitioning and lobbying FIFA and UEFA to make changes to better support players and make them more safe. And one of those changes we've been calling for is concussion substitutes. Now, when we've been pushing for this, and we seem to be having some success with that because we now hear that FIFA are considering concussion substitutes in football, one of the things we kept getting told is that teams would cheat and they'd use it for their advantage and they'd fake head injuries just so they can gain an advantage. And before that rule's even been introduced, we've got this cloud that's being thrown across this, and you've got somebody who is being praised by his manager as well by being streetwise and being smart and using his nous and all these sort of things. So basically, it's conning the medical staff. It's putting the medical staff in a completely invidious position, putting them under scrutiny. But also it's a case of, well, look, the boy who cried wolf. You cannot mess around with head injuries. You cannot give this message to other people watching the game that this is an okay thing to do and to try and gain a tactical advantage from a brain injury. It's hugely dangerous.
And what can football learn from the sport of rugby, which obviously there's far more head collisions and injuries to heads and necks? And I saw one of the Welsh players, I think it was a couple of days ago, as soon as he got hit on the head, he was off the pitch, down the tunnel, and the medics were in there checking him. What could we learn from the rugby?
Well, I think I think it's fair to say that the rugby hasn't got this sorted. They haven't got it perfect. But what rugby has been doing for many, many years is taking it incredibly seriously and trying with rule changes, assessing how long a concussion substitute should be allowed. And that's been extended. That time period has been extended over the years as they try and actually make it better and safer. Footballers just constantly seems to be having it, just stuck in the mud and not just refusing to act, refusing to try new things. And it's almost as if they're not taking it serious. It's as if concussion is just an issue for rugby. It's not. It's for all sport. Any kind of contact sport should be concussion aware and making sure that it's putting its players first. And that might mean messing around with the precious laws of football. But it's for the players' health and safety, and we've got to put them first.
We absolutely have, Luke. And does this Daniel James incident strengthen the argument for independent doctors? At the moment, the decisions made about a player's fitness to continue are made by the team doctors who are employed by the team. Now, when it's a player like James who goes down, who is one of the three most exciting attacking talents Wales have got, a team doctor might feel pressured to go, yeah, he's fine, get him out there. Do we need independence involved just to go, well, hang on a minute, I don't care about the team, I care about his safety?
I think it's a very, very strong call for that, and it's something that we have been saying for a while. And it's not to call into question the integrity of the home team, the team's medics at all. Far from it. It's actually to provide them with a bit of extra support and to remove that scrutiny and to make sure that they're not under pressure. And I personally have spoken to several Premier League physios and team doctors who have actually said that same thing, that they do feel under pressure. If they take their top scorer off with 5 minutes to go when they're 1-0 down, they do feel pressure for their jobs. And that can't be right. They do put their players at the heart of everything. I have absolutely no doubt that the medics have got the best interests of their players involved, but we are talking about huge pressure, high pressure stakes, particularly without these concussion substitutes, whereby those assessments can be done and will be done without 50, 60,000 people watching from the stands and just, telling people to get on with the game. So that will help, but I do think that there is a definite role for independent doctors to play in this.
Luke, we've seen other sports lead the way with concussion subs, where crucially the player is allowed to come off the pitch for the tests and then return in place of the substitute should he be declared fit. How far are we from those coming into football, do you think?
Well, as I say, we've been, at Headway, we've been lobbying for this for many years, and the latest understanding we have is that it's very close, and the FIFA are trying to speak to their law-making bodies, and there's so many hoops to go through for such a law change. But we think it's close. We think it's going to come. It will. I mean, we've just seen how much fun the games we're having with VAR being brought into football. So there will be some teething problems at first, I've no doubt, and there will be things to look at. But if rugby can do it, why can't football? It shouldn't be beyond the wit of man to get this right.
It's a very good point indeed. Luke, a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for your time. Luke Griggs there, who is Deputy Chief Executive of Headway UK.
Interesting interview indeed. So obviously for those that haven't seen it, and I'm sure most of you have now, it was just the comment for me that Giggs made, and I know he's getting a bit of stick in the papers today, the acting comment, and I think that's all it is that you read that and it doesn't sound like what Giggs probably meant to say.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but Ryan Giggs is not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed, is he?
I mean, well...
No, he's not. He's not in the shed, actually.
No.
He's outside the shed. He's the one that's rusting just around the back of the shed.
He scored past me. Do you know who else scored past me?
Go on.
Ronaldo.
Yes, he did.
We have, of course, Ronaldo, who's just got his 700th goal, and Kieran very kindly has got the commentary as to when he scored past me.
So one of these goals, 1 out of the 700, is against you.
2 out of the 700.
2 out of the 700.
And here's one of them now.
Smith to Rooney. Wonderful opportunity here. Rooney went to go alone and in by Ronaldo in the end. 2-1 Manchester United. Lovely little ball to release Rooney, who looked up, assessed the options. It looked here as if it had not gone Watford's Manchester United's way. But Ronaldo was first to react when it came off the goalkeeper.
Oh, you're the goalkeeper!
I'm the goalkeeper. That's me. Great. And like you said, great save. And we lost 4-1, but what was it you said? It could have been 9.
Mate,
it could have been 9.
It could have been a cricket score.
Could have been
Honestly, if it wasn't for you, then it was. And also, just to give you credit, Kieran Richardson is always deadly from that situation.
Clinical. I mean, I came out, like you said, I came out spread. Nothing else I could have done.
No.
It was an excellent finish. Of course, Rooney, the thunderbolt. Past me, Ronaldo, clinical. Sometimes there's nothing you can do as a guy. I appreciate that, Patrick.
No, mate, you're welcome. No, I am actually legitimately on your side about that. And Alan Hansen can do one.
3 minutes to 8.
Love sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Hello, I'm Tim from Bolsover. I'm a retired teacher. I was looking for a better electricity deal from my parents when I got an email from a spokesman said it was a fixed deal for 2 years, which was better for my parents, less for them to worry about. And when I had a look at the sums, I had to recheck because I couldn't quite believe it. They were going to save over £900 each year they were on that deal. Needless to say, we signed up pretty quickly.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
Driving too close to the car in front. gives you less time to react. You may not realise that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
So much power. And Manchester United fan Richard Lee, the Watford goalkeeper, could hardly snip it.
Oh, that's you.
That's
I
me.
like the bit where you can tell that he goes, Manchester United fan, check name. Richard Lee could hardly snip it.
Thanks for the vote of confidence. Plenty to come in the next hour. Stay tuned. We're going to be speaking to Ricky Sachs about Spurs, speaking to John McKenzie, freelance writer and part of the Leeds Fans Show on Love Sport 2.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 8, the FA says England's footballers were subjected to abhorrent racist chanting during last night's Euro 2020 qualifier in Bulgaria. George Alderman reports.
Monkey chants and Nazi salutes in Sofia led to this stadium announcement. The match was stopped twice in the first half. FA chairman Greg Clark heard the abuse.
Probably one of the most appalling nights I've seen in football.
England captain Harry Kane gave his reaction to Sky Sports News.
I'm hurt because my friends have to go through it.
England went on to thrash Bulgaria 6-0.
The man in charge of Brexit negotiations for the EU says a deal still possible this week. Michel Barnier says good intentions need to become legal text, but he's optimistic ahead of Thursday's crucial summit in Brussels.
Even if the agreement will be difficult, more and more difficult, to be frank, it's still possible this week.
Boris Johnson's postponed a meeting of his cabinet this morning. The health regulators issued a stark warning about the state of A&E units in England. CQC inspectors say more than half are inadequate or require improvement. The family of a teenager killed in a crash involving an American diplomat's wife are threatening legal action against the government. Harry Dunn's parents want the Foreign Office to explain the advice. It's thought more than 1 million older people in the UK are at risk of becoming malnourished. Nutrition charity Baypen says 60% of us think it's normal to be thin and frail in later life. And sport, Northern Ireland beat the Czech Republic 3-2 in an international friendly. And World Rugby's investigating after Scotland suggested taking legal action when their World Cup match was in doubt because of the weather. They did eventually play host Japan and lost. That's the latest. I'm Anna Bates.
This is Love Sport.
Hey phone, connect to Wi-Fi.
Connecting to cybercriminals.
You're not listening. I said Wi-Fi.
I'm listening. Cybercriminals could be too. Using Wi-Fi could leave your personal data exposed.
How can I keep it private?
With a secure VPN that encrypts your data, you need new Norton 360. It has multiple layers of protection, including VPN, device security, password manager, and more.
Ooh.
Go to uk.norton.com to get all-in-one protection starting at $24.99 for your first year. Terms apply. That's uk.norton.com.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Good morning, Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. Let's touch on some of those headlines this morning. Of course, the main headline is in regards to the racist chanting last night. England were successful in Bulgaria, winning the game 6-0. Very convincing on the pitch, but it was the chants off the pitch which made a lot of the headlines this morning. We'll be talking more about that this hour. Cristiano Ronaldo reaches 700 career goals, and lots going on in the world of rugby, cricket, tennis, which we'll touch on as well in this hour too. I'm, of course, joined by Mr. Patrick Christys. How are we?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you, Rich. Good performance by England last night. Obviously just took care of business on the pitch. And, it was just disappointing off at UEFA have just put England players in that position yet again. You know they're about to walk into a cauldron of racism and they let them do it.
Indeed. Well, Chief Superintendent Steve Graham, a senior UK police officer, was interviewed by Sky during the match.
This is quite simply the worst racist behaviour I've ever seen from a group of supporters, either at the international or club stage. It's indescribably bad.
Just describe to us what you've seen, because you've been standing near those Bulgarian fans for pretty much the whole game.
We've been seeing songs where they appear to make Nazi salutes during the singing. Whenever Raheem Sterling in particular was getting the ball, we're hearing monkey chants and concerted booing. And then when some of the other black players later on in the game, we heard booing that's been overtly directed at those players. And then during the pause in the game, we saw a flag with right-wing imagery demonstrated as well.
Well, it's incredible that he heard it because the Bulgarian manager didn't.
It does sound like the Bulgarians had like a checklist of racism that they had to work their way through.
Yeah.
So it was like, right, Nazi salutes, check. A racist flag, check. Monkey noises, check. Booing black players, check. Shirts that say no respect, check. It's like they had some kind of like a series, like just a kind of list, like a shopping list of racist behaviour that they had to tick off one after the other. It was appallingly bad, but I don't want it to. Well, I mean, it has overshadowed it, hasn't it? But I don't want it to overshadow what was a fantastic performance last night. Gareth Southgate got his selection absolutely spot on. Tyrone Mings made a great debut. Raheem Sterling was box office, and Ross Bartley as well chipped in with 2 goals. Was a creative force in midfield, and I don't think we should let the actions of a few nutters really kind of try to overshadow what was a fantastic England performance.
Yeah, well, Southgate discussed why they followed UEFA's protocol.
The referee came across on the 2 occasions that we felt necessary. You heard the stadium announcement after the first. With the second, we had a long discussion with the players because there were 4 minutes to half-time, and they were keen to finish the half and then have the discussion and see where we stood after half-time. We were very clear if there was anything at the beginning of the second half, we would have walked straight off, and frankly, I don't think we would have gone back.
No, and they did. They followed protocol. There is some breaking news. UEFA has told Sky Sports News that its control, ethics and disciplinary body will wait to read the referee's report.
You're desperately trying to read that off the Sky News ticker in a way that is too slow, aren't you? So, essentially,
they'll wait to read the referee's match report and UEFA delegates' report before launching investigation into racist abuse aimed at England players in Sofia last night.
Well, you got through that eventually.
Yeah. It's a good job you interrupted me because it's very difficult reading that banner. It's so slow.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is.
I just want to whiz you through a couple of other stories that have come out, which is that Kevin Glazer is set to cash out of Manchester United. So he's the first of the 6 Glazer siblings to break ranks since their late father. Malcolm took control of the club in 2005, so he looks like he's gonna cash out. Daniel Levy has come out and defended Mauricio Pochettino, saying that that it's not the manager's fault for the poor start to the season as well. So there's that. And Ronnie O'Sullivan, and we're going to get a clip of this a bit later on in the show, gave quite an interesting interview yesterday. So he's at the Crawley K2 Leisure Centre again, obviously playing a bit of snooker. And this is the place where he said it smelt of urine and was a hellhole last year. Anyway, so on his return, he came out to beat Jamie O'Neill, and then O'Sullivan said at the end of the match, every day in Crawley is a day lost in my life. This place hasn't changed much. The smell isn't as bad this time. They maybe put out a few more air fresheners in anticipation of me. I'd swerve this place if it wasn't down the road. The best thing about Crawley, the M23 out of it. Wow.
Scathing.
Yeah, Ronnie O'Sullivan there.
Yeah, fantastic. What else is going on in the back page? I see there's lots of other smaller stories today.
Andy Ruiz, well, literally a smaller story.
Yeah.
Andy Ruiz Jr., the big Mexican enchilada who beat Anthony Joshua, of course, has shook up the world by claiming Anthony Joshua's belt. He's lost a load of weight. He looks like a lean, green Mexican fighting machine.
It's incredible. Like, from where he was to where he is now. And I know he's wearing black, which is quite slimming, I believe.
Yeah.
But still, it looks like a completely different person.
Well, it is, basically.
I see what it's in his face. For those who haven't seen it, do get on Google, type it in. It'll be the first thing you see. And, yeah, he must have lost. Did it say how much he's lost?
No, it doesn't say how much he's lost yet because he's not had the weigh-in.
Not had the weigh-in. It's got to be several stone.
It looks that way to me, personally. I'd say he's at least 2 or 3 stone lighter than he was when he fought Anthony Joshua before. And Andy Ruiz Jr. sent a bit of a warning to Anthony Joshua, saying, look, I'm fitter, I'm stronger, I'm quicker. And you do wonder, actually, like, if he was able to box like that when he was that out of shape, how good is he going to be in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, no, indeed. It's definitely worth a little look, certainly.
Especially considering he's sponsored by Snickers as well now. Like, it's not a bad effort, that.
Yeah, how he's managed the two, I'm not quite so sure.
Yes, and Dan Evans, who's England's tennis number one at the moment, has doubled down on the fact that he's number one. His first game as British number one, he beat Bernard Tomic. He's the world number 43, but he's now the British number one. So well done, Dan Evans.
Yeah, indeed. I want to go back to the football a bit. Like I said, we spoke a lot about what happened off the field. I want to talk a little bit about on the field. We're going to be speaking to Ricky Sachs shortly. Last word on Spurs, of course, Harry Kane, Winks as well, we'll be touching on. Plus, Spurs have re-signed Mikel Vorm as a goalkeeper with their injury crisis. But I want to talk more so about a couple of the other players that came in last night. Tyrone Mings, several have put him down as man of the match, which I think will be partly because of his performance, which of course was very good, but also partly the way in which he conducted himself.
Yeah, just dealing with his actual performance, I thought he looked composed. His pace really showed. He was never flustered. And he had a couple of really nice touches, actually, when he was under pressure last night, where he just danced around one of their strikers and played a lovely ball. And, in a way, frankly, that Michael Keane was kind of like the Joe Hart to Tyrone Mings' Edison last night, where the ball's at his feet and you think, actually, everything's cool, everything's fine. And, yeah, I thought Gareth Southgate got his team selection right yesterday again, and I think that's important. I think you're always judged really by how you come back from a defeat, aren't you? And we smashed it. So,
I think a key thing, and Gareth Southgate, for as much as he's done, and he had a setback against Czech Republic, you could see last night meant something to him. The celebration for the first goal in particular, for me, showed just how much it meant. And he obviously would have been under a little bit of pressure, knowing that had they not have won this game, then going into the last couple of games, look, I still think we'd have qualified, but it might have been a little bit touch and go. Certainly now, with the goal difference we got as well, we'd be absolutely fine, of course. But as well, he's still a young manager. We've got to remember that as well as he's done, World Cup semi-final and all these fantastic games over the last couple of years, he's still learning. And I think he will have learned a lot from that defeat against the Czech Republic. He did make 5 changes, which is a lot. Bearing in mind it was the first defeat in 10 years, to make the 5 changes like he did, but it did look like a more cohesive team. And certainly going forward, a couple of the goals were brilliant. And I think whether it was against Bulgaria or a much better nation, I still think we score a few of those goals with the interplay that we were using.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And that was it, actually. I was looking at it last night and I was thinking, I think we have actually seriously entered that top echelon of world teams, where I do think the only teams that could really give us a game now, and I know we just got beat by Czech Republic, all right, but I think realistically, I think the only teams that could give us a proper game are your top maybe 8, 9, 10 in the world. Yeah, and that is where we are now, which is good, because as well, just think about it. That Czech Republic result wouldn't have been that much of an anomaly previously, and I've seen us go out as everyone has, and play against a team like we did last night and just come away with a 2-1 win or something really dull and drab, and we smashed them.
Another couple of players I just want to touch on. Rashford, we give him a bit of stick, or certainly you give him a bit of stick on this show from time to time, but I thought we started to see, or certainly yesterday, that was a much more positive performance from him.
Yeah, look, 100%. I don't mind the fact that I've given him a bit of stick, because first and foremost, normally talk about him in a Manchester United context, and he hasn't been playing well for Manchester United. But he put on his England shirt last night and did fantastically well, and he got us underway on 7 minutes with a lovely little way that he beat his man there kind of wide on the left-hand side of the pitch, jinked round him, left him on his backside, and then just razzed it into the top of the net. It's fantastic.
Ben Chilwell as well, I want to touch on him. I thought he's very good, really tidy player, delivery very good. Just talking to Marcus Rashford, slightly on a tangent, but want to touch on it. So yesterday, I don't know if you've seen this, Danny Murphy was asked to choose his combined 11 out of the Manchester United squad and the Liverpool squad. Of course, they face each other at the weekend. And so he had to go through position by position. So De Gea or Alisson, of course, he chose Alisson. Then he went through the back 4 individually. Anyway, as you can imagine, by the end of it, all 11 players were Liverpool players.
Really?
His combined 11. And he stands by it. Of course, it caused a little bit of controversy on the social media and what have you. However, a lot of people were agreeing with him that right now there's not a single Manchester United player that would get in the Liverpool team.
Well, I'll tell you who disagrees, Barcelona. So Barcelona are apparently lining up a move for one of Rashford or Bobby Firmino, and they're going for Rashford, apparently.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. But they obviously see something that maybe the rest of us don't.
Yeah. Sorry, Danny Mills, not Danny Murphy, my bad. It's they're both so similar.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, they both stand out long in the memory, don't they?
Indeed.
Only one of them has ever done a show on Love Sport Radio.
Oh, there you go.
Do you know which one?
I'm guessing Danny Mills.
Yeah,
Yes,
well done.
There you go. There you go. Right, we're going to be talking to Ricky Sachs. Last word on Spurs after this.
I'd never be a vegetarian. I think that is a huge mistake. Mistake. So clever, so funny.
Love Sport.
This is Ian Stone. I'm here on Love Sport Radio every Saturday afternoon from 12 till 3. My father said I could have been a professional footballer. My father was a big fan of mine. I was 21 years old and I was playing for a team. My father was the manager and made me Player of the Year.
Oh.
He walked into the dressing room and he went, Player of the Year. This year, well, I think it's Ian. Ian Stone every Saturday afternoon, 12 till 3.
Love Sport.
You all right, mate? Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it, sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you. Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you. Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. We touched a lot on the issues off the field yesterday. We want to talk about more of the issues on the field and a positive day for a couple of players in particular. And who better to talk about those players than Ricky Sachs? Last word on Spurs. Morning, Ricky.
Morning, chaps. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good. Want to talk about Harry Winks? Want to talk about Harry Kane? Firstly, Winks, he's getting a lot of plaudits in today's papers.
Yeah, I mean, listen, for me, Harry Winks is always a neat and tidy footballer. I think because his name is not Winksiesta, I think that's the reason why he's not given any real kind of credibility outside of Spurs fans. But we've seen Harry do this with Tottenham, on numerous occasions, and there's no doubt about it, with age, the more he matures, he's going to get even better, and he will become an England regular, no doubt. He's got all the quality there. He's played in big games for Tottenham. He's played the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, and come out being the man of the match. So, as Spurs fans, we've got absolutely no quality of that boy, and he's going to get better and better as time goes on.
Well, looking at the England team, we talk about the composition of the England team and whether having Henderson and Rice in that first game was two players that were too similar. Winks obviously offers something different. Do you think he was the biggest difference last night?
Oh, 100%. Harry Winks, what he does is he's a forward-thinking player. Always wants to take you forward, not really a sideways player for me. He's one that you can put on that pitch and you've got the confidence. He's always looking to play that eye of the needle ball through to the forward. And like I said, he's a positive thinking player and you can't underestimate that, So, yeah, very, very good player, and I've got no doubt he will become an England regular for sure.
Yeah, I want to talk about Harry Kane. Of course, got himself his goal. Good finish at the end. Maybe could have had a couple more. Firstly, what did you make of his performance? And secondly, where is Harry Kane at the moment for you? Is he firing on all cylinders?
Well, his record at the moment, Harry Kane, for a player that's supposedly, according to some of the media, out of form, I think he's got a ridiculous record so far this season. And what I love about Harry last night in, again, a situation where it could have been very easy to have maybe gone hiding. Harry, like I say, the leader he is, to have to deal with all that racism on the pitch, and obviously he's the captain on that field, to have to deal with that situation and still put in, for me, what was a 10 out of 10 performance, a hat-trick of assists, and he got his goal as well, which is fully deserved. I mean, he is, for me, the most complete striker in the world, Harry Kane. He's not just a great goal scorer. He links up play. His passing range is phenomenal. And I just feel like I say, as a Tottenham Hotspur supporter, you do see this week in, week out. And when he goes to England, some people are surprised. But we know how good he is. And it's great that the world now see that too. And he's a wonderful captain. I think you can't underestimate as a captain, as a leader, as a man. He's a fantastic player to represent your club, your country. And, you know, we're just blessed to have him at Tottenham.
No, I certainly agree with that. I thought the way he handled it last night again was very, very good. Do you think right now, though, he's the best that he's ever been? Because I guess I look at how his game's changed over the last couple of years, and he is, for me anyway, he's playing slightly differently. In some ways, very positive. In other ways, maybe part of the edge has gone. Is that fair, or do you think actually he's as good now as he's ever been?
I think he's as good as he's ever been. I think, you know, if you look at Harry's goal-scoring records over the years, he's never been a quick starter. But, I mean, having said that, he's still got a huge amount of goals already so far. We're in October, and I've got no doubt at all November, December, that's when he starts to come into his own. I mean, for me, there wouldn't be another centre-forward in the world I'd want opposed to Harry Kane. You know, the guy's proved it over 5-6 years. He's got a proven track record in the Premier League. He's got a proven track record for England now. Look at his goal-scoring exploits there. So he's a top centre-forward for me. And the most important thing for me I love about Harry Kane is the way he handles himself, both on and off the field. He's a pure leader and, you know, he's a nice human being. And that's so important in football, to have nice people. And he's a lovely, lovely guy. And I said, I'm just so blessed to have him at our football club.
Indeed. One player that wasn't involved last night, wasn't in the squad, Dele Alli. Obviously going through a little bit of a tough time. Do you see him getting himself back in that England team ahead of Barkley and Mount?
Yeah, I think for Dele, it was probably a blessing in disguise him not being involved in that England squad, because I think he hasn't been fully fit, if I'm being honest with you, at Tottenham. And I think what he does need now is a regular run of games. You have to remember, Dele Alli is only 23 years old. You know, that crazy stat out there where he's contributed and scored more goals than like Beckham, Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes. He's a fine young player. And I think we have to bear in mind that he did have a wonderful you know, when he came on the scene, he was absolutely wonderful. And naturally, players, they do have a dip. But, you know, you've heard the news out there that he's dropped the clothing line. He's gone back to basics. He's got himself a nutritionist. He started taking up yoga. He's trying to do all the right things to recover that form. And him and Mauricio Pochettino have got a wonderful relationship. And I've got absolutely no doubt that Dele Alli will come back. He's a top player. And I'm looking forward to seeing him back in a Spurs shirt, scoring goals, what he does best. But it will be a matter of time for me. I know he's a great player in there, and you have to support these guys. I think that's the most key thing as supporters. You know, when he burst onto the scene, we were so surprised by his rise. I think you have to support players when they're also going through a low. And I've got no doubt Dele Alli will return to be a top player for Tottenham Hotspur and for England as well.
Someone who has returned to Tottenham Hotspur is Michel Vorm, goalkeeper. Of course, the injury to Hugo Lloris, bit of a goalkeeping crisis, but Michel Vorm has re-signed for the club.
Oh, this is such a typical Spurs transfer, Michel Vorm joining. It was, horrendous to see Lloris out to January, and I think Spurs are just covering themselves. Gazzaniga, let's be honest and say that every game he's played in, he's always looked like he might have a ricket in him. And Alfie Whiteman, who's the reserve goalkeeper, Spurs aren't taking any chances. You know, bearing in mind our start to the season, you do feel like we've been very, very unlucky on the injury front. Obviously, Giovanni Lo Celso brought in Ryan Sessegnon, still yet to have a regular run in the team. It's good to see Tottenham trying to take no risks now and just bringing Michel Vorm back. He does a job at the end of the day. I'm sure Paulo Gazzaniga will still be ahead of him and will still be in place in between the 6th until January. But Michel Vorm is there just to offer a bit of experience. And he's one of the good guys, I have to say. You know, that Tottenham Hotspur dressing room at the moment, as we know, it's split. You do need to bring players back that will hopefully re-heal that dressing room. I'm not going to sit here and say that Michel Vorm's a healer, but it's important to have good characters around the dressing room. And he wouldn't be coming back to Tottenham if he was a divisive character, or divisive character, should I say. So it's good to see him back at the football club. And let's just hope we get a win at the weekend. God, we need it.
Yeah, indeed. A transfer rumour, Juventus offering Adrien Rabiot to Spurs as part of a deal to land Eriksen in January. Would this be a good deal for Spurs?
I think Tottenham needs to just try and get Christian Eriksen out of the football club. I think Christian Eriksen, as we know, no longer wants to play for Tottenham Hotspur. He wants a new challenge. He made that very clear in the summer. And Tottenham should be trying everything in their power to move Christian Eriksen on. The problem is with Christian Eriksen is he's probably happy to let his contract run down and then have his pick of who he wants to go to in the summer with a big signing-on fee, and in which Tottenham get absolutely zero for him. So the power is all in Christian Eriksen's hands. I think Eriksen will most likely stay at the club and wait till the summer to get his move. But what I do want to see from Mauricio Pochettino now is, as we look ahead to Watford, is to bring players in that I think do want to play for the football club, the likes of Japhet Tanganga, Troy Parrott, Oliver Skipp, go back to why he was successful at Tottenham and give the youth a chance, because this is a massive game for Tottenham Hotspur against Watford at the weekend, and we must get a win.
Harry Redknapp predicted Spurs will finish above Chelsea and Arsenal this season. I know it hasn't been brilliant to this point, but are you still confident they'll finish third?
At the moment, the way they're playing, I wouldn't want to predict anything, chaps, to be honest with you. There's been so much speculation about the manager and over the players' futures. I don't think I can sit here and definitely say to you they're going to finish third. I think Tottenham needs to go back to basics and just start getting wins on the board. I wouldn't want to sit here and predict anything about Tottenham Hotspur finishing third at the moment, bearing in mind the way they're playing, their form table. It isn't great. The most important thing now is focusing on Watford at the weekend and going from there.
Great stuff. And lastly, Ben Davies, impressed for Wales at the weekend. Danny Rose struggled on Friday. Should Ben Davies be first choice left back?
Well, I think Ben Davies, as I've always said about Ben, he's reliable, he's dependable, he's not the quickest going forward. But Danny Rose, to be fair, he's not been in the greatest of form. Another player that Spurs tried to force out the door on deadline day, which never materialised. And I think at the moment, when you look at our left-back options, you'd probably say Ben Davies is probably the better one out of the two. So I would probably give Ben Davies a nod over Danny Rose based on the current form at the moment.
Great stuff. Ricky, as always, appreciate having you on. Ricky Sachs, last word on Spurs, touching on the performance for England. And, of course, Spurs, big game upcoming, as Ricky touched on. They need to turn things around at Spurs. Of course, signed Michel Vorm as well with their goalkeeper injury crisis that they've currently got. Patrick?
Yes, it does. Like, I suppose in some ways it feels like a bit of a backward step, doesn't it, with Spurs signing Michel Vorm? But hey, they need a bit of cover there, and he can do a job, can't he?
It's, I suppose, reminiscent of, Liverpool have done it earlier in the season with Andrew Lonergan and, of course, Adrian. And certainly with the rules being as they are, it makes sense to have that backup. And at the moment, he is probably the best free transfer out there as a goalkeeper. So to have him as a backup, and as Ricky touched on there, he's a good character. So it does make sense. What else is going on in the world?
Oh, wow. OK. Well, just in case you've missed this, Ronnie O'Sullivan's been at it again in terms of the venue where he's taking part in a snooker championship in Crawley, saying that it smells slightly better because he accused it of stinking of urine. But he did also say, this is Ronnie O'Sullivan, every day in Crawley is a day lost in my life. This place hasn't changed much. The smell isn't as bad this time. Maybe they put out a few more air fresheners in anticipation of me. I'd swerve this place if it wasn't down the road. The best thing about Crawley, the M23 out of it.
Well, Ronnie admitted he didn't know who his first round opponent was.
Kind of like just on the back foot for most of it. So I thought I'd done well to win, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my best results. Seriously. I mean, like, if I'm playing John Higgins, I know exactly what he's going to do, and most of the people on tour. But, like, when, you come in at 1-2, half these players I don't even know who they are. Do you know what I mean? So to play them first time, it's really hard.
There you go.
Is he a little bit of a,
A what, Patrick?
Can't say it this time in the morning. Yeah, one of those guys.
Yeah.
Do you reckon? Like, he's a legend, right? He's box office, he's fantastic, but he doesn't need to go and dig out Crawley and then his opponents, does he?
I think he doesn't have a filter. I think he's one of those guys. Yeah.
Do you remember that entire interview you did last year in an Australian accent? That was weird.
Yeah, it was. But it was classic Ronnie.
That's just Ronnie, isn't it?
Just whatever he feels like in the moment. There's something quite nice about that. Something quite innocent, but at the same time brutally honest and quite harsh.
Yeah, he'd be a good restaurant critic, wouldn't he?
Yes.
You could just see him doing like long reads to The Guardian, just systematically taking apart somewhere like Malmaison.
It's funny you say that. If you go on TripAdvisor, there's a lot of Ronnie O'Sullivan quotes on there.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. Dan Evans as well, British number one now in tennis, beat Bernard Tomic last night, so maintained a winning start to his British number one. Did I just call him world number one? Because he's not. He's world number 43 and he's British number one. So he did well to beat Bernard Tomic anyway and maintain that status.
Great stuff. We're going to be going through the back pages next.
This is Love Sport.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search 1U.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Love sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. Now, amongst all the stories today, one of the big ones is that Cristiano Ronaldo has hit 700 goals, career goals. I think it puts him 5th, I want to say, on the all-time list.
Sensational.
See the likes of Pele and Puskas and a couple of others above him. I think the leader at the moment is just over 800. So you never know. He's still looking very fit. Give him 2 or 3 more years. If he can stick in there, you never know. Want to talk a little bit about Cristiano Ronaldo. I know that producer Kieran has some interesting information. We're going to play a little game.
We are going to play a little game, and one of my theme tunes that you hate, Rich. Well, I mean, I'm ripping this off YouTube, so it should be fine.
Yeah.
But it's...
What's happened to my life?
Harula. That's what we're going to do.
Fantastic. Harala, come on then. Let's play this game.
So we are going to go off the fact that Cristiano Ronaldo has scored 700 goals.
Okay.
And you're going to have to guess how many were from right foot, left foot header, inside the box, outside the box, penalty and free kick.
All right. Okay. All right. Go on then.
So obviously he's right foot dominant. I'll start with Rich Lee. How many goals do you reckon out of the 700 were with his right foot?
470.
Okay. Lower than 470, Patrick. Lower than 470.
Okay. 380.
Higher than that. Higher.
447.
Oh, I'm giving that to you. 442.
Oh,
That's very good, Rich.
done.
Very good. Oh, you were in the right ballpark straight away. Very good.
I'm good at maths.
Okay, well,
Took it a year early.
Rich won that point, so we'll start with Rich. How many left-footed strikes out of the 700?
I'm going to go 137.
Ooh, lower than 137.
Is it? 117.
Higher than 117.
124.
Ooh, close. Higher than 124.
128.
Oh, I'm going to give that to Patrick.
Yay!
What is it?
129.
Very
129.
good.
Yeah, very good. All right, so header. There.
Okay, in that case, I'm doing my
Do some quick maths.
I'm
What
not
do you
doing-
think,
what other
Patrick?
options have we got?
I'm
What other
not
options have we
doing
got
any
after
of
this?
There were 2 others scored. I don't know what part of his body.
Oh, right.
But if you can
Oh,
work
it
that
kind of
out
has to
quickly.
be then like the remainder, which will
Yeah.
be about 130 odd.
Yeah, 127.
Boom. There you go.
There you go, Rich. Very good.
Well, we've confirmed that Rich
There you
Lee can
go.
add up.
Hey.
I feel like that game went far too quickly.
No, we've got inside the box, outside the box, penalty and free kick.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay,
Let's
all
start again.
So, inside the box, out of his 700 goals, obviously has changed from a winger in his United days to a real kind of poacher almost in his Real Madrid latter years. How many goals inside the box?
537.
Higher than 537.
600.
Oof, I mean, pretty good that. That's to within 5.
Yeah, that'll do.
We'll give it then. We'll give it.
595.
Hey.
Wow, there you go.
There we go. So that works out as what's outside the box?
105.
Lovely.
Yes,
Well
I'll
done.
take that.
Mathematician, Rich
There
Lee.
you
Lovely.
go.
All right, how many penalties do you reckon Cristiano Ronaldo scored in the 700?
Of course, one was against myself. Fantastic
yes.
penalty. Unsavable, some would say.
Unsavable, absolutely.
Unstoppable. All right, I'm going to go with 60.
Higher than 60.
75.
Higher than 75.
100.
Higher than 100.
Really? 125.
Lower than 125.
112.
113. Very
you
good.
go.
Very good. That's quite a lot, isn't it?
It does feel, yeah. So 1 in 5. That's football now, though, right? 1 in 5 goals a penalty. Is that about right?
He always took him, right? So
Yeah,
you weren't getting the ball off.
Oh, no
Cristiano.
chance. In fact, the goal last night was a penalty.
There you go. And free kicks. How many direct free kicks?
You see, I think this will be like a trick question to an extent. I think it's going to be a lot lower than you'd think. We all remember the brilliant one against David James, but I'm going to say 25.
No, come off it. Free
125.
58.
Ooh, that's pretty good. I might give Patrick that.
Go on.
55.
Okay,
Yeah,
give him that.
very
All right,
good.
very
So
good.
that's pretty good.
Still a lot of free kicks, actually. Yeah, that's good.
Now,
Good going.
Cristiano Ronaldo has scored in La Liga 311, Champions League 127. That's a record. Premier League 84. World Cup qualification 30. European Championship 25.
But is he happy? You know? Is he
Serie
really
A
happy?
24. Copa del Rey
Yeah.
22. International Friendly 17. FA Cup 13. Euro qualification 11. World Cup 7. Club World Cup 7. Spanish Super Cup 4. English League Cup 4. UEFA Nations League 3. Premier League 3. Portuguese Cup 2. UEFA Super Cup 2. Confed Cup 2. Italian Super Cup 1. And UCL qualification 1.
Ibiza Cup?
No, he's not there.
There you go. There you go. You see, there's no one that's got the Ibiza Cup. You see? I take that as a positive?
I think you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, you were ecstatic when you won that, weren't you?
I was so hyper. I mean, what a day. What a day. Well, there you go. Cristiano Ronaldo, we do salute you. He keeps on going. Will he get to 800?
Yes, I reckon. He's a machine, isn't he? If he plays for another 3 seasons, I reckon he'll do it.
Indeed. Right, we're going to go through the back pages in about 30 seconds or so.
This is Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive. And make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Love Sport.
Lost for Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10. And we're going to be joined by producer Kieran, who comes storming into the room confidently as ever, bringing us... Striding, confident stride, bringing us stories aplenty.
Stories aplenty indeed, yes. And, well, I'm being produced by my own presenter currently.
Because I've just spotted one I want you to talk about.
Okay.
There he is. Look at that.
There it is.
Nice little
It's
cheeky
in
one.
the mail.
Go on, what is it?
And it's about Sheffield United.
Yeah.
Now, if you remember a few weeks ago, there was quite a cutting story about Sheffield United's owner and his link to the Bin Laden family.
Hey.
Well, the headline here is Bin Laden link hurt Blade's reputation. And next to that, water is wet. Sheffield United's reputation with the banks has been damaged by the link between owner Prince Abdullah and the Bin Laden family, a court has been told. The High Court yesterday, they heard how the Santander Bank demanded answers after the revelations made during a long-running and bitter co-ownership between the Saudi royal and ex-chairman Kevin McCabe. The publicity has been highly damaging to the club, said Andreas Gledhill QC on behalf of the Prince, adding that it had led to difficulties with Santander.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll turn you down for loans for anything these days.
I mean, you just can't get a loan.
No.
You just can't get a break these days.
I mean, ever since that recession, you know, and the credit crash, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
look at
yeah.
it now.
It's that classic checklist, you know, if you had any CCJs, if you
Yeah.
had any connections with the Bin Laden
Yeah,
family, if you had
exactly.
any, you tick one and you're done.
Well, that's it. And it's just nuts these days, isn't it? How do you expect people to get a start in life if just because you're mates with the Bin Ladens, you know, and you maybe would consider taking some of their money? I mean, what's the world coming to, Rich? This overly PC culture that we live in where you can't be friends with international terrorists.
Well, it's not
and
just
get
the
away
Bin
with it.
Ladens either, is it? There's several other people.
Oh, God, don't stock, yeah. I mean, that was it. I mean, I actually had a relative who was really good mates with Idi Amin.
Yeah.
And he wasn't allowed a loan either.
Yeah.
You know?
Shocking, isn't it?
No.
How are you ever going to get on the property ladder?
It's a disgrace.
No chance.
But you could buy a football club.
True, that. Yeah.
Of course you can do buy football.
Anyone could do that.
Anyone can buy a football club.
I mean, look.
What a stupid thing to say. Of course you can buy a football club if you're mates with the Bin Ladens, for goodness sake. I mean, what's this? No, but seriously, though, the Bin Ladens are ocean-going nightmares, aren't they?
Yeah.
they are.
But you do wonder why we come on and talk about sport when there's clearly just awash with treason, just utter shams
But
and
it's just,
scams.
I wonder if the Sheffield... I'd actually love to see a survey of Sheffield United fans, and I almost wouldn't hold this against them, by the way, I'm not digging them out, but would you take all of the money the Bin Laden fans have to offer for one Premier League title? And I reckon a shocking amount of them would say yes. Yeah, they would, wouldn't they?
When you love your club that much and you want success that badly,
and they've just dipped the Premier League trophy in some fresh blood, and there it is.
There we go.
And up we go! Hey!
That's fresh blood because, of course, Sheffield United playing red, right?
Oh, yeah.
Of course, okay, all right. But we've got actually a Leeds guest coming on in the next segment, and that is because their owner is trying to sell the club to the Middle East.
Oh, good.
And he said that they'll be able to compete financially with Man City. So looking forward to seeing Leeds become, one of the next big things.
Also with Bielsa living in a, quotes, granny flat.
Yeah.
And works on his tactics in Costa.
Yes.
We'll be talking to
I can't wait
about
for
that.
you to dig into Bielsa, because the lad we've got on, John McKenzie, I think he's writing a book currently on Bielsa. So you can, any Bielsa-related questions that you're dying to hear, then do get in touch, and I'm sure Rich and Patrick have got a few.
Who needs
as well.
an office when you've got a Costa next door?
Well, that's it. Bielsa goes to a dog walking group once a week that is just him and a load of middle-aged Yorkshire women.
It's just fantastic.
It's just brilliant.
What a life he leads. Right, moving on. I want to talk a little bit about some cricket, because there's always some cricket news when I'm around.
Of course.
And the ICC have worked out that actually England's World Cup win was probably not the right way to win a World Cup.
Oh.
So we won on the amount of boundaries we scored, because we obviously tied with New Zealand in the 50 overs, and then we tied with them in the Super Over. And the next kind of regulation was, how many boundaries have been scored across the tournament, and or was it in the match? I can't remember. It was one of the two, and England were up, so that's why we won. And the ICC have looked at this and gone, that's not a great way to decide a World Cup, is it? So they have decided that effective in the semi-finals and final of all ICC events, in the event of a tie in the Super Over, the Super Over will be repeated until one team scores more than the other.
That's going to happen from now on.
I like that.
Yeah.
Which is logical, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because that's also it's more very intense cricket, isn't it? Which is kind of what we're all there for.
Absolutely.
I suppose the similarity would be, imagine if it was a penalty shootout and you drew after the 5 penalties and then awarded it to England for
shots on
target.
Yeah, it is exactly that.
Yeah.
And which wouldn't have been great.
Yeah, it's fair point. Well, I'm glad they brought this rule in now. I mean, I'm so glad they didn't bring this in a little while ago.
Yeah. The New Zealand cricket team are just like, they've done it eventually, and everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
So we'll just crack on.
Justice has prevailed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like Scotland were trying to sue World Rugby, for potentially not playing the game on the weekend. I'd love New Zealand just to sue the ICC now and be like, we're coming back to Lords. We're standing on the square at Lords until we replay that Super Over. Get every crowd member back.
I'm not being funny though, but because New Zealanders are this is just lazy general stereotype here, of course, which of course we love at this time of the morning on live radio.
Really good at them.
But they are quite nice.
Yeah,
like New Zealanders are just kind of like legends, aren't they? And so it's like that kind of thing. Like, oh well, there's always next time. Well, there might not always be next time, mate. You're not angry about this. It seems weird. No. Good day, mate.
Might be your one opportunity.
Yeah,
ever. One opportunity.
Should it have been shared?
Well,
I mean, no. It's ours.
You tied the match. The match was tied after both
the
50 over and the Super Over. Share the trophy.
You're talking to someone who, as a child, would not share anything. I had some serious issues with that. So no, I wouldn't share. Why do
you think your parents overindulged you a little bit? Because it does seem to me like on numerous occasions you should have had a really good slap.
We're going a bit deep.
No,
here.
you should have had a really good slap. Like when you, for your birthday party, literally hosted the Richard Lee Olympics and only invited your fat mates so you would win all the time and made them present you with medals after each event.
Yeah.
When you spent an entire day of your holiday learning how to play chess just so you could beat your own father. When, for example, at your brother's stag do, you swore at a member of staff at Daytona Racing and frankly ruined the day.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe a good slap would have done you some good?
I mean, look, when you put all these together, it sounds bad. And, I think about that mini Olympics that we hosted. And one thing I didn't tell you is actually one of the kids did beat me. So I got my dad to then doctor a drugs test, make out that he was a drugs cheat. Just make sure.
Is that true?
I still got the gold medal.
Is that true?
Look, I think he probably, I know we already talked, he probably did something untoward. And also.
What, like had an extra Red Bull?
Also, I question, especially when you're playing, you haven't got enough officials around. There's so many different things that weren't quite right on the day. Look, when you put them all together, it doesn't sound great. I'll admit
isn't
that.
great, mate.
But when you think in terms of how long life is, it's a few moments in life.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Kieran?
Yeah, it really makes my snakes and ladders outburst pale into insignificance. I used to just chuck the board. I'd just be like, I'm not playing this, I'm losing.
I did that with my dad in chess. He was about to do the final move to make it chessmate, and I just flipped the board upside down.
And then what did he do?
Lovely.
What did he do to that?
He just thought it was really funny, and I didn't speak to him.
This is the issue. This is the problem. They've created a monster.
Yeah, whereas I got rightfully berated.
Yes.
I'm not going to say that I got smacked by my parents, but...
Yeah.
Well, it's a bit late for them to take you off them now, mate. Come on, Kieran. Hey, come with us, mate.
We'll look after you. We are about to legally adopt Kieran here on Love Sport Radio. Right, we're going to be talking to John McKenzie, freelance writer and part of the Leeds Fans Show on Love Sport after this.
Last time I was in the UK, I met national treasure Mary Berry's grandmother, Elderberry.
Giving your team a voice. Love Sport Radio.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Hi, I'm Marilyn from Oxfordshire. My current insurance company quoted £245.08 to reinsure, and a spokesman said obtain me a price of £173.49 for the same cover. This was a fantastic saving for me, and next time my car insurance comes up for renewal, I will be going through a spokesman said. No doubt about that.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work. Even a quick look at the message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast with me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys, here with you until 10 a.m. We spoke a lot about England, of course, today. We've touched on the cricket, courtesy of Kieran. Interesting story today in The Sun. And we've got a very interesting guest, actually, to discuss this with us. John McKenzie, freelance writer and part of the Leeds Fan Show on Love Sport. Morning, John.
Hello, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Do you know what? So much I want to get into here, because I know you're writing a book on Bielsa. I've got so many questions about Bielsa. In fact, the headline in The Sun is El Loco. Inside Marcelo Bielsa's modest life in Leeds, living in a granny flat, taking team meetings in a local Costa coffee and walking to work. So, right, where do we start? You're writing this book on Bielsa. First and foremost, how's that been? It must have been fascinating learning about him.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. I mean, the very reason I decided to write a book about him is because he's such an interesting guy. So that's the line of causality there. But he's a fascinating guy all the way through his career as well. It's obviously not just his time at Leeds as well. So the book is broadly biographical, so covering his life, and his time at Leeds has been really, really interesting as well. So that's been good for the book. It's not just that he's been an interesting guy his whole life. He's come to Leeds. He's had various scandals. He's done things in very different ways to the ways that many other managers have done things. So it's been great fun to write, really.
So we all know about Spygate. I've heard a rumour that he attends a dog walking session in, I think, the Whitby area. with a lot of middle-aged women. Although with Bielsa now, that could be a lie, and you just won't be able to tell, I think. What is, apart from the obvious things we might already be aware of, like Spygate, what is the most nuts thing about him?
I think the most nuts thing about him is that he is just so countercultural in the world of football. I know that's quite a boring answer to give, because obviously everyone loves these sorts of quirky stories, and he's just everyone at the club and all the fans have fallen in love with him. So he does have that mystique about him. But the fact that he just absolutely loves football and nothing about him really changes. I guess the story that people would probably find the most nuts is that allegedly whenever he walks across his technical area, he takes 13 steps before he does his crouch. So there's little things like that. But I just love the fact that he's so countercultural. We live in a world, and we may touch on this as well when you talk about all of the stuff that's going on with the QSI investment and stuff. This is a guy who just doesn't care about the money. He donated a huge amount of money to Newell's Old Boys, his original club, to boost their training facilities. So he's just really quite a breath of fresh air.
And talk to us about this granny flat that he lives in.
Yeah, he lives in a flat above a shop. He was staying in a hotel for a while, but that wasn't good enough for him. He lives in Wetherby, which is a small town in the north of West Yorkshire, and walks, because it's close to Thorpe Arch, the Leeds training ground. He walks to training pretty much every day, as far as I'm aware, and there's people who basically make a pilgrimage to Wetherby just to see him walk past. He's such a personable guy. He feels a real responsibility to the fans because he sees himself as being, and this is something Andrea Radrizzani said in his interview in the Times, just a custodian of the club. He feels a responsibility to the fans, and so he has time for them. There's plenty of pictures of him with kids. He'll often take sweets to the game. You'll see him coming off the team bus at Elland Road, and he'll pull some lollipops out of his pockets and give them to the kids as he's going along. So it's a really nice thing to see. And yeah, Wetherby has been quite a fun place for people to go to just to see him go past.
He's often seen in Morrison's and Costa. Is it fair to say he's the most popular Leeds man? Patrick, look, just because he... Right. No, is he the most popular Leeds manager in recent history? Do you back him to get Leeds promoted?
Yeah, I mean, he's the most popular Leeds manager in recent history, but I don't think that's a particularly high bar. But yeah, the effect that he's had on the club has been astounding, and so much of that is just systemic. He's come in and he's changed everything up. He's changed the culture of the club. And so much of this comes from the fact that he's so well respected in the world of football. I don't think anyone else could come in and say, look, you're going to get one day off a month. You're going to be working 8 hours a day. That sort of ability to produce that kind of commitment in players is unheard of, really, in football. So I think that's a lot of what it's down to. But yeah, he has a lot of Leeds fans will say, look, thank you, Marcelo. You basically allowed me to have pride in my club again, and I think that's why so many Leeds fans are so appreciative of him, because the club was in such a dire strait that it did need someone to come in and make these systemic changes.
I want to talk about this proposed Middle Eastern investment that Radrizzani has touched on. He said that Leeds could compete with Man City if the proposed investment goes through.
Yeah, so there was a piece in the Times yesterday from Martin Ziegler, one of the chief football correspondents, sports correspondents actually. But interesting piece. But I did notice that Andrea Radrizzani tweeted suggesting that the piece had been sort of taken out of context a little bit. It was known over the summer that Radrizzani was in talks with people about potential takeover bids. But what he was saying was he was making it quite clear that as an owner, he always has his eye on potential investments. So I think that the piece maybe swung it a little bit more towards suggesting that he had definite offers on the table that he was seriously considering, whereas he came out afterwards and said, it's just something that I do. I'm always aware of who's interested in the club. But there were three major investors that he was particularly interested in. One was QSI. one was an American guy who had been a fan for a while, which he liked, and then the other was an Italian owner as well. Obviously, Andrew Radrizzani is Italian. The Leeds fans, I think, are very positive about this sort of thing because obviously having that sort of financial clout to compete with Man City is an attractive venture. But I do think that there's obviously certain ethical conundrums to be faced, and I don't think a lot of the fans have really thought that one through.
Great stuff, John. Really appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thanks very much.
That's John McKenzie there, freelance writer and part of the Leeds Fan Show on Love Sport. He is writing a book on Bielsa. In fact, it's well worth checking out this interview and this article on The Sun in regards to Bielsa. Such a character, very generous by the sounds of things as well.
Yeah, really generous. Whether it's just handing out sweets to child fans as he enters the stadium, or whether it's donating a lot of his money to his old club. Was it Newell Old Boys? So no, there's a theme there, and it's lovely.
No, fantastic. Just to recap on some of the main stories this morning, of course, the biggest story is, of course, in regards to the game last night. Not so much the game itself, although England were very, very good, winning 6-0 in Bulgaria. The big story is, of course, the racism that the England players suffered yesterday. We're going to be talking more about that in the next hour. In fact, we can hear from Jordan Henderson.
He was asking me what the problem was. And I told him he knew what was going on, he knew what the problem was. It was baffling how he didn't really. But hopefully after the game he looks back and he apologises, because I think anybody watching that game will be disgusted and know that that's not on really.
Obviously, he was seen talking to the Bulgarian manager during the game. And you can see he was getting a bit animated. And, of course, we've heard from the Bulgarian manager who's...
Actually, the Bulgarian manager, sorry, Rich, to interrupt, but considering that he obviously is blind and deaf, has done well to get to where he is. And I think it's a lesson in people, because it's the only way on the face of this earth that you could not hear or see the racism, the monkey chants and the Nazi salutes that were taking place in that stadium last night. A stadium, by the way, that in 2013 wished Adolf Hitler a happy birthday.
So for those that haven't, the Bulgarian manager effectively kept using the word alleged. You know, it's saying if this is proven, despite all the proof that was there last night. Of course, I spoke to Paul Mortimer earlier, who gave his thoughts. You can always listen back to our shows, of course, if you go on the website, listen to the reruns, also on YouTube as well. An interesting interview with Paul Mortimer. To touch on some of the other stories, Cristiano Ronaldo has hit 700 career goals.
Oh, the guy is just a sensation, isn't he? He scored from the spot last night for Portugal to bring up his 700th career goal. What, just an unbelievable guy. I feel like it's been a privilege, frankly, to be able to watch him over the years.
Ronnie O'Sullivan enjoying Crawley.
Yeah, Ronnie O'Sullivan has said that Crawley, where he previously described the venue there, the snooker venue, as smelling of urine. It's at the K2 Leisure Centre. He said that every single time he spends in Crawley is a day he'll never get back, and the best thing about Crawley is the M23 on the way out. So he's loving it there at the minute.
And Andy Ruiz Jr., another big story today.
He has shedded the weight. Andy Ruiz Jr., who managed to overcome Anthony Joshua, of course, in America. Their rematch is scheduled in Saudi Arabia, which has been quite controversial. But he's like a lean, green Mexican fighting machine.
And just to touch on something I haven't mentioned actually today, Northern Ireland in the football had a win.
Well done.
Do you know what? It was only a friendly, but again, they were so unfortunate during the week. The late goals against Holland, which of course cost them that game, but they're doing very, very well. They're certainly in with a chance. They actually beat the Czech Republic in a friendly yesterday. O'Neill, the manager, is getting a lot of plaudits, and rightly so.
Yeah, absolutely. 3-2 they managed to beat them yesterday, and it was actually the clinical nature of the way that they are in front of goal these days. It's just he's working wonders there, O'Neill, and you do wonder what happens to him, don't you? Well, how far he takes that team.
Yeah, and there's a story about Paul Gascoigne as well, which we will touch on in the next hour. The time is 3 minutes to 9.
This is Love Sport.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Tenna men.
Cage.
Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're
secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
There are fewer than 20 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident, and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel, and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
That's for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, and the one, the only, Mr. Patrick Christys. We're here with you all the way until 10. As always, we're online. We're on digital radio. We're on Alexa smart speaker. We're also on YouTube, and you can get in touch. 0208 70 20 558, whether that be a call or whether that be a WhatsApp, or you can get in touch on the socials.
Homing pigeon.
You can get in touch on, use them. I mean, they're becoming more popular.
Yeah, they are.
They are.
It's the green way to deliver messages.
Well, especially with stamps rising from 67p to 70p.
Tell me about it.
Personally, I prefer the pigeon.
Yeah, I prefer the pigeon.
I mean,
Pigeons never go on strike either, Royal Mail.
No, we'll hear from a pigeon in the next hour.
We will, definitely. Yeah.
You can get in touch on the socials, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Love Sport Radio.
What have we done?
I don't know. What's happening, Patrick?
I don't know.
I don't know. We're going to be speaking to Don Betts, who was at the game last night. Also, Rich Hall, chief correspondent for Football Italia. Lots to come. Stay tuned. 9 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 9, Football Association Chairman Greg Clark says the abuse England's players received last night was appalling. The FA want UEFA to investigate racist chanting directed at the team during their 6-0 win in Euro 2020 qualifying. European's football governing body says they'll wait to hear from match officials before making a decision. Bulgarian manager Krasimir Balakov claimed he was too busy coaching his team to notice.
I was concentrated in the game. I didn't actually hear anything, but I just talked to the English press downstairs, and I told them that if this is proven to be true, then we have to be ashamed and we have to apologize.
The EU's chief Brexit negotiator says reaching a deal this week will be difficult but possible. Michel Barnier's spoken ahead of a crucial summit in Brussels on Thursday. Environment Secretary Theresa Villas says it's impossible to predict the outcome of negotiations.
The UK government has put some credible and workable proposals on the table, and the EU is obviously engaging with them very seriously. It's quite an intensive process. That in itself is encouraging.
Former Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt says it was a mistake to let Ansa Koulas out of the UK after she was involved in a fatal crash in Northamptonshire. She's the wife of an American diplomat and was reportedly driving on the wrong side of the road when Harry Dunn was knocked off his motorbike in August. There's a warning more than half of England's A&E departments aren't up to standard. The Care Quality Commission says 8% were ranked inadequate. The number of junk food outlets in deprived areas of the UK is reportedly making it difficult for kids to access healthy meals. UNICEF says 1 in 3 school leavers are overweight. And elsewhere in football, Northern Ireland's 3 first-half goals were enough to give them a 3-2 victory over the Czech Republic last night. It's their first away win in an international friendly for 13 years. That's the latest. I'm Anna Bates.
Love Sport.
No one wants to get caught in the cold this winter. We're with you. That's why all our new boilers come with 2 years interest-free credit to avoid a big chill to your wallet. You'll get a 5-year British Gas warranty. And now we can even quote by video call after work or weekends at a time that suits you. Get a quote by the 30th of November and get £150 off a new boiler. Or £450 off for existing home care customers. Search British Gas New Boiler. Conditions apply.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Good morning, Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10. Let's touch on the headlines. There is only one headline, and that was last night. England victorious, but it wasn't the victory that has got all the headlines this morning. Lots of racist chanting in Bulgaria. We're going to be speaking to Dom Betts very shortly on that. However, on the pitch, England were excellent, winning the game 6-0, a brace for Ross Barkley. Cristiano Ronaldo has reached 700 career goals. There's also lots going on in the world of snooker, tennis, rugby. We're going to be touching on all of that this hour. I am, of course, joined by Mr. Patrick Christys.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. And delighted to say we have Mr. Dom Betts on the line from the Fulhamish podcast, but more importantly, someone who was at the game last night to tell us how it was for him. Morning, Dom.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I was speaking to Kieran earlier, and I was saying that you give everyone watching on TV probably a better idea what everyone in the ground was going on. Because obviously the way in was the other end of the pitch, obviously where England were attacking in the first half, and it's not like Bulgaria were getting in a half at all. So we heard booing when obviously certain players got the ball, like Raheem Sterling, Marcus Rashford, Sancho, Mings, etc. But you couldn't really work out what was being said or what was happening. When the game did get stopped, everyone was on their phones, looking on social media. Getting text messages or WhatsApps from their family and friends back home, and if there was a tannoy, I didn't hear anything. So, yeah, it was a very, very weird experience of just not really knowing what was going on during the game.
Was there any trouble before or after the game at all?
No, there wasn't any trouble at all for the entire trip. I saw anyway. But in the centre of Bulgaria, I was there the night before the game, and then during the day, and on the main sort of strip, there was no trouble. The only trouble I did see was two sets of Bulgarian sort of local people having a fight on a Sunday night, and so I think England fans have been behaving impeccably on this trip as far as I'm concerned. I always think it is blown massively out of proportion. I think that we can see the arrest numbers from in a way they're pretty much the same as when any England team goes away to Europe in the Europa League or Champions League. So I think England fans were a credit to the country last night, as I said on Twitter, and it was good to see sort of everyone sort of unite in defiance against the disgraceful behaviour from a small few set of Bulgarian ultras, I will say, because all the Bulgarian people we've been talking to and bumping into in the centre of town before the game, and even after the game, even after the game we went to a few of the bars, they were talking about the game, and they were like, I think it's because I think what we worked out is a lot of Bulgarian people don't care about national team, and I think I read that the supposed racist abuse came from the Levskis to the ultras. So I hope it doesn't taint everyone's opinion on Bulgarian people, because our entire trip here has been great, and it's a great city as well.
Well, I suppose this is it, because when they zoomed in, you could see there were certain people there. There was large groups of people that were very much leading this. How was it as being part of that atmosphere where there's obviously a lot of empty seats? They've obviously been, I know they've had to, they've obviously banned a lot of people due to this, and there was only a certain number of seats available. What was the atmosphere like? So it was obviously the group of England fans and a group of Bulgaria fans, but that was it?
Yeah, the atmosphere after the game was there was a massive, we were kept in for about half an hour and 40 minutes like usual, and then there was a police escort into the centre of town, and I think that there wasn't any trouble outside the ground, because I think you've got to give a lot of credit actually to the Bulgarian police, because they did an exceptional job. They didn't cause any problem with England fans like you've seen in other places such as Spain and maybe a bit in Croatia. I didn't see any, but I read some reports about it. So I think the Bulgarian police did an exceptional job of making sure no one really got in trouble. We just followed the kind of police escort back into the main square, and the restaurants and bars, a few of them were still open, letting England fans back in. So I think that. Yeah, on TV, I'm not saying it's not been blown out of proportion. It was terrible what happened, but I think that from a match-going fan perspective, going to the game, it probably seemed less worse than when you were watching on TV, because obviously it was just the whole game that everyone was watching. But yeah, before the game, after the game, the entire time, I didn't see any trouble. I didn't see any ultras or anything.
Yeah, well, just dealing with the actual performance on the pitch then. I mean, how pleased were you with it? What was it like watching England just absolutely thump them 6-0?
So can you say that? Sorry,
just in terms of the performance on the pitch, what was it like to watch England beat them 6-0?
Yeah, I think that there was an easy chance we should have won that game about 12-0. That's what a lot of the Bulgarian tax drive I said this morning. Harry Kane I thought was unlucky. I know he got his 3 assists in the goal, but he could have scored another 2 or 3. But it was good for him to get that goal. Raheem Sterling to shut up his critic. So I said if we got a penalty, I would have given it to Tyrone Mings just to sort of get as many players to annoy the Bulgarian ultras as possible to score. But it was great to see us bounce back with an emphatic victory after obviously the disappointment of the Czech Republic game on Friday night, which I thought we were very poor in.
after we scored, we sort of seemed to just not care about the game anymore. And, you know, it is an important game because we need to make sure we're a top seed going into the Euros. Yes, we'll be having 3 games at Wembley, but you want to be, I think you need to be in the top 6 sort of hosts. So, yeah, it was very good, and I'll probably have to leave it there because I think my plane's boarding.
Go on, Dom, go catch your flight. Dom Betts there from the Fulhamish podcast. He was at the game last night giving us his thoughts on what happened there, who apparently may well stay in Bulgaria.
Yeah, well, that's
enjoy
it.
for another few days.
That's a good excuse to get another day off work, isn't it? Oh,
isn't it?
sorry, guys, I was on your own radio station, and sorry, I missed the flight.
Yeah. You'd have thought we might have scheduled him slightly earlier in the show, but no, we like to cut
Well,
things
no, you
fine.
can't. You simply can't factor in the ruthless approach that the Bulgarian check-in assistants take at an airport, and you know it is ruthlessly efficient.
We have the Bulgarian manager speaking about the incident with his captain going over to the fans.
I
was concentrated in the game. I didn't actually hear anything, but I just talked to the English press downstairs, and I told them that if this is proven to be true, then we have to be ashamed and we have to apologize for it. But once again, first it has to be proven to be true. I have to say I really have no idea about this. If our captain spoke to the fans, then it's probably because the fans were unhappy with the way the team was performing and the whole topic in the build-up to the game. The fans are emotional, but you obviously, because you want me to say this, and I have to say this, if something happened, then I'm sure it was a small group of people who really were out of their minds, because this is unacceptable if it happened, of course.
If it happened.
Yeah, I mean, it did happen.
It did happen.
It did happen. We've seen all the Nazi salutes. So that's that. You can just imagine that, can't you, at like the Nuremberg rally. And it's just like, well, I mean, if there are any Nazis here, then obviously we'll have to apologise. But I mean, I wouldn't just jump to conclusions by all the Sieg Heiling and all those big red banners that have been unfurled over there, and the fact that Adolf Hitler's just stood right there. I wouldn't, let's not jump to conclusions.
You don't always believe what you see and what you hear.
You know, I mean, there's no, just if you want to jump to conclusions about that,
That's
then
up to you.
whatever.
That's up to
whatever.
you.
But until it's proven, I mean, come on, mate.
So Popov popped over to the fans and had a word.
Off, didn't
But I mean, it was fascinating. How often do you see? We don't see that, do you? The captain of a national team going over to the fans and pleading with them not to do what they're doing.
Yeah, just look, the whole thing was baffling really from start to finish. But fair play to Gareth Southgate and for the England players as well. And the notable additions there of Tyrone Mings and Raheem Sterling, of course, being two examples of players of colour who.
Wait, that's. If they are of colour.
Yeah, exactly. Allegedly. Allegedly, if that's proven.
I mean...
No, but I mean, this is the thing though, isn't it? I mean, the fact is that there are pictures there of people doing Nazi salutes, wearing shirts that say no respect on them, monkey noises, you can hear them on the television. I'm sure you can hear them now if you go back and have a look on Twitter and the like. So, yeah, there's no allegedly there. That was a group of racists. And actually on Sky Sports News now, which we have on in the studio, you can see them all leaving the ground. And Chris Powell there as well was making the point actually to Gareth Southgate that they're all the ones with the hoods up. And you could see who they were. They're all dressed in black. They've all got hoods up. They're the ones doing the Nazi salutes. It's usually quite a good indication that of, fascism at a football game, I find. It's just remarkable they were allowed in.
Yeah, no, it really is. You're right. And it was, we touched on this earlier, the whole 3 strikes, which is fascinating, that you're given 3 strikes and at that point the game is called off. They used up 2, and as soon as they used up 2, then things slightly improved. A lot of those people then left. And it was the case. It felt like the case. They used up the 2 strikes, and then a big section of the supporters, a big section of the crowd left, which my thinking is for all those that left, effectively, they're owning up.
Well,
at that moment, they're owning up. The
yeah.
moment they leave the stadium, surely that should be the moment where they're all picked up. And it's like, right, so you're all the racists leaving because you've used up your 2 strikes.
We'll just put you in the racism van and take you down to the prison where you belong.
Yeah, let's hear from Jordan Henderson, who made the point that the racists would win if England had walked off.
Disgraceful, really. Some of the scenes that I was seeing, hearing, is outrageous, really, in this day and age for me. But I thought the team handled it magnificently. So much discipline and class to carry on and make sure that these fans didn't win. and basically go out second half and just make their team suffer, really. Killed them with a ball. And it was a top performance from everybody from start to finish. But yeah, that can't be happening, so something needs to be done about that.
Jordan Henderson there, and you can't argue with him. Look, we're going to be talking more about this in the next 45 minutes. No doubt we'll be talking about it all day. Of course, Martin Bell is up after us, and I'm sure he will be touching on it too. But we're going to move on. We're going to be talking about Reading because they have appointed a new manager who is their own sporting director, Mark Bowen. We're going to be speaking to Ollie Allen, the Tilehurst end. We'll be talking to him next about that.
Believe me, he who laughs last thinks slowest. Ha ha ha. See, that was a laugh because I'm clever now.
This is Love Sport. Listen to Love Sport Radio on your smartphone today. Simply download the free Love Sport app from the App Store or Google Play. Tap the play button and you'll be able to listen to your favourite station. Anytime, anywhere. Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it, sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Hello, my name's Paula. I'm from the Shropshire area and I'm a business development manager. I use a spokesman said for my car insurance where I've saved over £500 and also on travel insurance as well. So in total, me and my family have saved about £600. I would definitely use it again and I would definitely recommend it.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it. You just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys here with you for another 45 minutes or so. Now, big news in the Championship. Reading Sporting Director Mark Bowen has been appointed as the new manager of the Championship club. He joined Reading as a consultant back in March and he has now taken the reins.
Now, I believe you know a little bit about Mark Bowen.
I do. Yeah, he was assistant manager. I spent some time at Blackburn Rovers. Of course, he followed Mark Hughes. So a lot of the jobs, Mark Hughes would have 2 assistants, Mark Bowen and Eddie Nedvesky. And Mark, for me, was a very, very good coach. It will be very interesting to see how he is as a manager. But as a character, very bubbly, very likeable. It'll be interesting to see whether he can translate that into the management role because he was always the understudy to Mark Hughes and he played that role very, very well. I mean, it will be interesting. I understand that a lot of Reading fans are quite disappointed with the appointment. And in fact, we've got someone on the line who can give us a bit more of an insight as to what the Reading fans think of this appointment. And that is Ollie Allen, the Tilehurst end, who we have on the line. Morning, Ollie.
Morning, how's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks. Hope you're well too. Yeah, I understand that Reading fans aren't particularly happy. It's a bit of an underwhelming appointment, I would say that. What's the general consensus?
Yeah, I think fans are just pretty deflated, to be honest. I think, you sort of hear these rumours that, obviously Bowen was perhaps influential in getting Jose Gomez sacked and then, has almost appointed himself in a sense. I mean, we don't obviously know the full story behind the scenes with the owners and the board and whatnot, but that certainly seems, I think that's the way that fans have been viewing it. I think Gomez is quite a popular character in many ways, so to see him sacked, I think in some ways was quite disappointing anyway. And then for various names to be mentioned, and then for Bowen, someone with no managerial experience, only as an assistant to Mark Hughes, who was linked anyway, And people didn't really want Mark Hughes to get his second in command in a sense. I think it's even more disappointing.
It is a slightly strange one because you would have thought, as you say, Mark Bowen would have been very much involved in the decision-making process. Firstly, to remove the manager, and then to bring him in. Do you feel like this might be a short-term appointment, or have they made it clear that this is actually someone they think can really drive the club forward?
It's not been confirmed. I don't think that the length of the contract. I think what we're hearing in the press is that it is only until the end of the season, which I suppose is a slight positive. I think you might be able to argue that sort of he's had an impact on the owners in recent months since coming in March, and they sort of perhaps feel that he's maybe a safe pair of hands to sort of try and steer the team away from relegation until the end of the season, and then they might be able to get someone longer term in, but. That in itself is quite disappointing. I mean, we as a club have had, I think Bowen will be our fourth manager in about 18 months now. So then to sort of find out that, we'll then probably be getting another manager in 9 months' time, it doesn't scream stability to me personally. I think, we'll be looking at, a fifth man in the space of just over 2 years. I mean, I suppose obviously if Bowen gets results, then, they might well keep him on, but I think, personally myself, and I think a lot of our Reading fans would have rather someone, sort of came in and perhaps planned for the long term.
I mean, Reading is a precarious position at the moment, of course, in the relegation zone as it stands. Certainly not a good run of form. It doesn't feel that long ago that you were in a playoff final, but the last few seasons have been a real struggle. Do you think there's a team, and in terms of the ability within the squad, they've got enough to stay up this season?
I think they do, yeah, for sure. You look at the signings we made in the summer when we signed George Puskas, who's came in as 8.5 million, a very, very highly rated young striker. Did very well at the under-21 European Championships in the summer with Romania. Lucas Zhao came in from Sheffield Wednesday, quite highly rated. I think these players have quality. And there's other players in the squad. We've got Miazga on loan from Chelsea, Majai on loan from Liverpool. These players have played in the Premier League and others as well, but I think for me, I've said it before that this team since that playoff final, 2.5 years ago now, that they've just done nothing but lose really. We finished 20th last year and 20th the season before that as well, and it's just a mentality issue. I think there's clear quality in this side. We saw it in August when they beat Cardiff 3-0. Cardiff are a recent Premier League side. No mugs at all, and they've got quality in their team. But we brushed them aside 3-0. And look really, really good that day. So there's clear quality in that side. It's a confidence thing, I think, first and foremost, that when we go a goal down, the heads drop straight away. I think we've only won one game in the last sort of 2 or 3 years after going a goal down. So that in itself is a massive issue. I think it's just mentality that these players, need someone who can motivate them, when the going gets tough, because over the last 2 or 3 years, they haven't been able to get themselves out of this sort of losing mentality, this losing rut, in a sense.
Many other managers linked with the role. Is there anyone you would have liked to have seen taking the reins?
I would have gone quite left field. I'd have gone Clarence Seedorf, who wasn't really a name sort of mentioned, but the thinking behind that really, I think, is that these players need someone who they can respect. I think one of Gomez's main issues, we hear in reports that he sort of lost the dressing room, that the players didn't believe in him at all. We need someone that they can respect, and that was one of the things with Jaap Stam, that even though his tactics weren't working, we weren't winning that many games, the players were still reportedly fully behind him because of his playing career and his illustrious sort of achievements in the game. And you heard a lot of players come out and say that he was the best manager that they ever worked under. A lot of players signed for Reading just because of Jaap Stam, and I think you need that respect in a dressing room that such as Reading's, where these players need someone to look up to, need someone who's going to motivate them. So in that sense, I think Clarence Seedorf's won everything there is to win in the game. 4 Champions League titles with 3 different clubs or whatever. So I know he's not done the best in his managerial career so far, but I think there's a lot of circumstances to play. I think especially at Milan, he didn't do too badly, but I think the Cameroon job and jobs in China and Spain, there are other factors at play there, perhaps limiting what he could do. But I'd have taken Gareth Ainsworth or Gary Rowett as well in English football. I just think you need someone who's going to have that respect for the players, and whether Mark Bowen, who's not been a manager at all, has seemingly appointed himself Been at the club for the last few months. I don't know what sort of relationship we have with the players, but I think we needed someone really that the players could have respected and that could have been able to motivate them. And perhaps Mark Bowen is that man, I think, and all we can do is give him time. And obviously, if he starts winning games, then we'll have no complaints.
Well, you got the feeling he's going to have to hit the ground running. The next 5 fixtures are quite interesting ones. Preston at home, QPR away, Forest away, and then you've got Millwall at home, Luton at home. There is arguably, 10 to 12 points available there, you would think?
Potentially. I mean, I haven't looked at the table the last couple of days, but I mean, Preston, Forest, QPR, they've had good starts to the season. I know QPR has started recently, but, Preston and Forest are right up there. So it's definitely a difficult start for him. And I think it's a very fair point that, if we don't pick up points from these next, 3 or 4 games, then fans are going to turn very, very quickly. I mean, there's already talk that people won't be turning up because Mark Bowen's been appointed manager, which is a bit extreme perhaps, but certainly if we don't, start winning these next couple of games, we're already on a run of 6 games without winning anyway, which is why Gomez was sacked. So, if Bowen's popularity is this bad at the moment, and he's not even played a game yet, then you have to wonder, if we don't win these games, and they aren't easy games, as I say, Preston and Forest are right up there. Perhaps you might look at Millwall and Luton as perhaps a little bit more winnable, but he's got to start winning games. Otherwise, I do fear that sort of, home support could turn ugly in a sense.
Yeah, great stuff. Ollie, really appreciate you joining us. That's Ollie Allen, the Tilehurst N, giving us his thoughts on Mark Bowen, who has been appointed manager of Reading Football Club.
Who sacks him?
Who sacks
him if it goes badly? Because he was director of football.
He was director of football, which then would make you think someone else would come in as the new director of football. Most clubs do have one now.
I think so. Otherwise, it's just him, isn't it? Giving himself his own vote of confidence in the press every week.
Reading, who have been relegated to League Two, but Mark Bowen has confirmed that Mark Bowen will keep his job as manager.
Mark Bowen said that Mark Bowen was one of the finest managers that this club has ever seen.
Yes. No, look, for what it's worth, as I mentioned, I did work with him. He's somebody that he's never really taken the reins. He's always been a number 2. So it's interesting. Look, we've seen it with other managers who have done it successfully. So it may well be one of them where you'll often find with the number 2, they don't get the chance to put forward a lot of their ideas. And no doubt, although he was a number 2 to Mark Hughes, that doesn't mean they're going to get a Mark Hughes-esque manager. It would have been the case that he was towing the line for Mark Hughes when he was his assistant. So I think Ollie touched on it there, where I think it's as much as it might be seen as underwhelming, and I'm sure Mark Bowen understands that, it might be seen as underwhelming, but if they go and start the next few games pretty well and he starts to get some of his ideas across, then things change very quickly. We had it with Mark Warburton at Brentford, which was a good example, where suddenly someone's employed who his background was, finance. He worked in the city till he was 45 years old, and suddenly he's your manager. You're thinking, wait a second, is this just because he's the owner's mate? And then all of a sudden, a year down the line, we've got promotion, everything else that come with it, and he's seen as one of the brightest managers in the Championship, which still stands true now. I see that Kieran has his headset on and he's got his mic there. He obviously has something to chip in.
I do, and just to move it back to England and last night's incidents in Sofia, just to develop the story somewhat, the Prime Minister of Bulgaria has demanded that their FA president Borislav Mikhailov steps down over the shocking racist treatment that England's players were subjected to. Bulgarian PM Boyko Borisov says the government will freeze all relations with the Bulgarian FA, including denying them any funding until Mikhailov steps down. Interestingly, Mikhailov is a member of UEFA's executive committee, so that's always
nice. Do you know what?
That's
good. That's good news. Bearing in mind that we spoke about the manager essentially denying it, kept saying if it's proven. Well, look. The fact that the Bulgarian government are coming out and saying that, they've very much made their stance clear, which is exactly how it should be. That's positive, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that's the most extreme action in a way that you could see taken. It's nice to see it taken so quickly as well, because clearly a lot of the time these things just get swept under the rug, and we saw a lot of the Bulgarian team's management last night trying to do that. So it's nice to see the Prime Minister come out and say, actually, you know what, we're not going to stand for this whatsoever, you're done.
Great stuff. 27 minutes past 9.
This is Love Sport.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it, sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Stop paying too much for your energy bills. Brian saved money on his at aspokesmansaid.com. Can you?
I'm Brian from Swadlincote, South Derbyshire, and I saved about £400 on my energy bill with a Spokesman Said. The iSpokesman Said website was very easy to use, and the money I saved I put towards a holiday.
Compare home energy quotes from the UK's biggest suppliers in just a matter of minutes with aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
This is Love Sport.
So much power, and Manchester United fan Richard Lee, the Watford goalkeeper, could hardly snip it.
Well, that's true. Wait a sec. So, right, there's a reason we played that clip was because Ronaldo has scored 700 goals. Just got to make the point, that wasn't the one that Ronaldo scored. That was the one that Rooney scored.
No, yeah, I know, but we've got another half an hour to fill, and I'm not sure that's enough time to pack in all of the commentary of you shipping goals left, right and centre. So, you know.
Right, so Ronaldo, who has scored 700 goals, 2 of which were against me, which makes up a tiny percentage. 698 weren't against me.
He actually speaks very highly of you. And he says that if it wasn't for Richard Lee, he would have probably reached his 700th goal years ago.
Of course. Of course. The amount of times I denied him, which was 0. I actually didn't make a single save against Ronaldo. No, Rooney I made several saves against, but Ronaldo, no. He was pretty clinical. 700 goals. I mean, ridiculously impressive. Who is better, Ronaldo or...
This is your question, so I'm not in your head.
There's only one question. When it's a question as to who's better, it's only one question. Is it Ronaldo or Messi? The debate that goes on forever and ever and ever that will never have an answer. And what I would say is that I know a lot of statisticians will say Messi. They all believe that Messi is better. And certainly if you look at a lot of these little spider diagrams that they all love, then Messi comes out on top. That is true. I've always been on Team Ronaldo.
Yeah. I have been as well, but I'm a bit biased, a United fan, you see, because I got to see him at quite close quarters. If I'd have grown up watching Messi, I'd probably support Messi.
I got to see him at very close quarters.
You did? You saw the whites of his eyes?
Yeah, I hurt my back a few times picking the ball out of the
net.
No. So, but no, for me, it's more the fact that he's just reinvented himself over and over. His attitude towards the game, the fact that every tiny little detail that he could find to improve himself, he has done continually over and over. We're on Ronaldo, probably version 5. Right now, you look at the Ronaldo that's played throughout the years and he keeps reinventing himself. And even now, when you look at him, he's on 700. Do I think that he's nearly done? No. I think he'll get to 800. I think even 850. Depends how long he wants to play and whether he's happy to drop down the levels. I mean, look, and I'm guessing that this is professional football. So there's no reason that Ronaldo can't play for another 5 years, even if he were to drop a level or two and see if he could get 1,000 goals.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see, but I think there's every chance really that he could do it. I mean, he's got Joseph Bican on 805 goals, Romario 743, Gerd Muller 711, Puskas just above him as well there. So
Pele as well, isn't there?
Pele is in there as well. Yes, of course, Pele is in there. So I mean, he's in esteemed company to say the least, and I think there's every chance if he's only got to get another 120 odd goals or whatever it is now to get the record of all time. Well, he's got to do it, hasn't he?
I mean, you would think, and I think if you're him, do you just keep on playing until you do?
Yeah, because
so
he could play...
you're wheeling out Ronaldo at the age of 47.
I don't think you'd be wheeling him out. He's in peak physical condition, mate. He'd be sprinting out, but he could go and play in China, couldn't he, and score 60 goals a season, and he's there for 2 years, and he's done it.
Yeah, and I think that would... could you see him doing that? The thing is, he's done it in every league. That's the other thing that I love about Ronaldo, by the way. If it's the Ronaldo or Messi debate, for me, the fact that he's done it in the Premier League, he's done it in La Liga, we're joined.
Sorry, a man girl has just walked into the studio.
Sorry,
I rarely do this. In fact, I've never done it.
Go on,
But
you burst in. You've got something to say.
I just heard you say, Rich, that you think Ronaldo's going to score 850 goals.
Yes.
He's on 700 now.
Yep.
So he has to score 150 more goals. He's 34.
Yep.
So he potentially has to have 5 more seasons of scoring 30 goals a season.
Yes.
Yeah, because
And
he
you
could
think
do
he'll
it.
do that?
But he could do it in any league, couldn't he?
Professional, isn't it?
Ronaldo,
Professional football.
So he could go
but
back to
Ronaldo's not going to go to like.
I think,
League One.
I think he might go
I
back
think he
to-
would.
yeah.
If he knows he can be the record goal scorer of all time, he will do it.
I actually honestly think he would. I think even if it was a case of him going back to Sporting Lisbon and just tearing it up there.
Look, I hear Macclesfield need a striker.
They do need a striker.
Now, if he was to go in fact, I wouldn't recommend Macclesfield, but if he's to go and play in League Two, he's notching 50 goals this season. Is that fair?
Yeah, but he won't.
There you go.
It would never happen.
I think it will. Okay.
No, I don't think he'll just do that. I think he could go and play somewhere.
Maybe in like
China.
Madeira, where he's from.
Yeah,
he could play in Portugal.
I
could see
yeah,
that.
China or Portugal or somewhere like that.
I
He
still
easily
don't
gets
think
it.
I still don't think he's going to score another 150
Look, we
goals.
can not that we're going to gamble responsibly and all that, but I will make a sportsman's bet. I'm allowed to say
Yeah, that's
that.
fine.
Yeah, a sportsman's bet that Ronaldo is the world record holder by the time he's retired.
Well, I'll be here in 5 years.
Of course. Well, at that point, we will, of course, be a global station and be broadcasting to the world. And we will have a big moment when I am awarded some form of trophy. Can I get a trophy? I love a trophy.
Yeah, but though I'm worried actually to attend an award ceremony with you because, like, you and I both don't. We'd lose disgracefully.
We would.
We win disgracefully as well, actually.
How do we feel about the intruder just then, by the way?
Yeah,
It was
who the heck was that?
I mean, it's some random
no
off the
context-
street
no
who has
context Laurie.
just come in. I mean, Laurie is just coming out of nowhere.
Martin
He's
Bell's,
left now.
Martin
He's
Bell's
left.
producer, who is he's a Newcastle fan.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And this is what happens on this station, is that people just make their way. I mean, look, if you're in the local area, burst in and have your
Just come
say.
in, just kick the door through. We'll be all right. No, we do have a buzzer system here at the office, right? But sometimes the intercom doesn't work. So have you ever seen that Alan Partridge sketch where he's like trying to get into that kind of private members club and he's always like, yeah, hi there, I want to kill you all. And then the gates just open. It's a little bit like here at Love Sport where you buzz, we don't know who you are, and we go, yeah, you look all right, in you come.
What do you guys think? Will Ronaldo get the world record in the end? 0208 70 20 558. We're going to be talking to Rich Hall in about 30 seconds' time.
Love Sport. There are fewer than 20 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
This is Love Sport.
So something I like to do, Patrick, is to under-promise and over-deliver.
Oh, yeah.
I said 30 seconds. That's probably about 7.
Yeah.
There you go. We're back.
Yes.
We are.
Here we go.
And we are going to be talking to Chief Correspondent for Football Italia, Rich Hall, who is on the line now. Morning, Rich.
Morning, gents. How you doing?
Yeah, very well. Hope you're well. First and foremost, let's start with the national team. They have qualified for Euro 2020.
Yeah, it's all smiles in Italy at the moment with the national team. Not only is the main team, like you say, qualified for the Euros, the under-21s have sort of had a bit of a rebirth as well. And Roberto Mancini's doing miracles. I mean, in context, we've got to remember it's not so long ago that they failed to qualify for the World Cup, and headlines like apocalypse were all over the Gazzetta dello Sport. But since then, they've done it, and they've done it in style. Now he's won overall. He's won 7 out of 7 in the qualifiers, 8 out of 8, which puts him close to being he could set a record if he beats Liechtenstein today, set by Vittorio Pozzo, the great World Cup winning, double World Cup winning coach in 1934 and 1938. So he's chasing that, but they will be making a few changes. The funny thing about that was that he was asked about the record, and he said, you and Pozzo now are pretty similar. And Mancini turned around and he went, no, we're not. He won 2 World Cups.
Right.
So, yeah, so it's a good time and good feelings in Italy so far with that.
Indeed. And, of course, what better thing to do than when you've qualified than to go and visit the Pope?
Yes, well, it tends to happen quite a bit in Italy with teams either before tournaments or after. But I tell you, the one interesting thing about the game tonight against Liechtenstein is even though he's chasing that record, he has made some real significant changes. You're looking at the likes of players like Nicola Zaniolo, Brian Cristante, all coming in alongside potentially in the centre-back positions Giuseppe Mancini. So even though he's got that record on the horizon, he's playing a lot of youthful players, just showing as well what strength in depth Italy's got at the moment.
Indeed. And Sanchez, I believe he's got quite a bad injury.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. It's supposed to be 2 to 3 months he could be out at the moment. The media sort of turned on Inter after the Derby d'Italia defeat to Juventus, because Danilo D'Ambrosio was injured against Greece. Sanchez has also gone out, and there's a big headline in the Corriere dello Sport today, saying that Lukaku, when they've delved into the stats, they think he's underperforming, and looking at how Icardi's performing in PSG, they're just questioning Inter's capacity to win this Scudetto. So it's quite an interesting turn of pace, because they were all praised before that win. But if Lukaku isn't performing as well, he continues on this slight dip of form. I don't actually believe that. I think he's done quite well. They are short up front. Without Sanchez, they've only got Lautaro Martinez and Esposito, who's a very young but talented forward. But Tuttosport today also saying it's Olivier Giroud that Conte's targeting in the January window to boost those options.
Interesting. And Rabiot to be offered to Spurs in exchange for Christian Eriksen.
Yeah, this is a strange one, a really strange one, because obviously Rabiot had his issues at Paris Saint-Germain and hadn't been playing. Obviously not seen as the most amiable of chaps, should we say. And Maurizio Sarri, it's interesting to know of just what players he chose this summer coming in. A lot of those deals and the free transfers, like Aaron Ramsey and Rabiot, that were done early, not really featured. He's also voiced his his annoyance at that. So whether him and Sarri are having issues, I don't know. But it does seem a strange one that a player signed on a free only in the summer could be out the door quite quickly. So, I mean, obviously with the interest of Real Madrid with Christian Eriksen, we'll see how that pans out. But I'm just more shocked in the fact that a player can be that disruptive in two clubs so quickly.
Yeah, indeed. And Balotelli, I've read that he could quadruple his salary at Brescia with 15 league goals.
Yes, well, he's got a pretty good agent, let's say. So, yeah, I mean, 15 league goals at Brescia is a really tall ask. But it's Balotelli, and the best thing about the story for him, he's really happy in Brescia. We saw this when he was at Nice, sort of big fish in a small pond. His adopted parents from there. He's talking in the papers the other day about having lunch with his mother again for the first time in a long time. He's really trimmed down. He looks really as fit as he's been in a long time. So it is possible. But I think if he did manage to get 15 goals for Brescia, they'd probably stay up and be happy to pay that money.
Yeah, indeed. And I believe Mesut Ozil's attracting a bit of interest from the Milan clubs.
This one's one that rumbles on and on. Mesut Ozil, in one respect, he sort of plays a position that no longer exists in that sort of old school number 10 role. But in Italy, they still like to look for what they call a trequartista, which is that guy who just plays behind the front one or front two. So it would be interesting to see if he could do that in Serie A. It may be a league that suits him. He's quite intelligent and it's very obviously tactical. So it could be one that does well for him, and they wouldn't expect him to do what Emery expects of him and to put in that pressing effort. So it'll be really interesting. But into probably the ones in the midfield area who could really do with that creative aspect of it, just someone different. Because with Pochettino, the Brazilian at Milan, you think they would be doubling up in that position.
Yeah, indeed. Rich, as always, do appreciate you joining us.
Cheers, guys.
That's Rich Hall there, chief correspondent for Football Italia, giving us the latest on Italian football. Still lots to discuss. In fact, we're going to run through all of the back pages after this.
I have my own radio station too. It's called Love Trump Radio, the only station 100% fair and 112% factual.
Giving your team the coverage they deserve. Love Sport Radio.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it, sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Can you save money on your car insurance? Chris did with a little help from a spokesmansaid.com. getting real people, real savings.
I'm Chris from Leicestershire, a truck driver. I went on a spokesman set, which was very straightforward and easy to use for an old git like myself, and saved over £300 on my car insurance.
Find quotes from over 100 leading insurance providers at aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys, here with you for another 15 minutes or so. Then, of course, the brilliant Martin Bell is up after us. But to enjoy the last 15 minutes, not only do you get the pleasure of me and Patrick, but you also get the intense pleasure of Kieran Wellington.
The intense pleasure of Kieran Wellington. I'm going to market that, brand that.
You should.
All over the place. Thank you so much. I've just put a Twitter poll. just put a Twitter poll on Love Sports profile, actually, Rich.
Yeah.
Off the back of yours and Laurie's heated disputes about where Cristiano Ronaldo will finish goal-wise in his career.
Yeah, just out of interest, Laurie, who burst into the studio unannounced, has he been escorted off the premises?
What was the kind of Geordie man-child that just wandered in before, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, that's the one.
Can we confirm that he is now, he's out of the building?
Oh, yeah. You won't see him in here again.
Fantastic.
But he, before he left the building, he put he threatened me to put a Twitter poll up to say how many goals will Cristiano Ronaldo get to before the end of his career. So the options are 700 to 749, 750 to 799, 751. 800 to 849, or 850 plus.
Okay.
So that's the options our listeners have got.
I'm probably not saying 850 plus, but I am saying a record.
Okay.
I just think when you're at that point, surely if you're at that point, you know you're so close. And I'm right in thinking, if I'm wrong, tell me, but I'm right in thinking it's goals in professional football.
That's right.
He's still playing at the top level. He's still playing in the Champions League. So it's not like he's already sunk to League Two and he's clinging on to get a few more goals. No, he can have years of sinking down the leagues in order to get this record.
67% think he will end up on under 800 goals, Rich. Which 802 is the record.
Well, let me guess, 3 votes?
Yes.
Right, so 2 of the 3 people have... Right, the poll's been up for a minute, Patrick.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to read into the results just yet.
No, I just voted as well, and I voted in a way that would really annoy you.
So you voted in order to...
Against you, yeah.
Right, so there you go.
You.
So actually it's 2 people. One has voted in favour and one has voted against.
In essence.
Well, that concludes it, doesn't it? That is conclusive
evidence.
Well, it's a vote.
Unbelievable.
It's a vote, and the result of the vote has to be respected.
Unbelievable.
Now, moving on before this starts a proper physical altercation in the studio.
Let me
Love
vote.
to fight you.
Let me vote.
Oh, Rich is voting whilst I change the subject.
No, go on, you carry on. I can multitask.
Fine. Henrik Stenson is in the news, the Swedish golfer.
Just quickly, 800 to 849 is now 50%.
Really?
There you go.
Oh.
4 votes.
Hey.
Right, sorry, Kieran. Carry on.
No problem. So the golf is in the news because Henrik Stenson and Annika Sorenstam, who are both Swedish golfers, of Henrik and Annika, obviously male and female, they're going to host a new tournament in Sweden next year, which will see men and women face off in a full field for the first time ever in a proper...
Against each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as if it's stroke play, as in any other tournament on the European Tour, but it's men and women in the same field. And it will see 78 men and 78 women compete for a share of €1.5 million.
Okay.
And it's the first of its kind. And we've mentioned before when women's football was the subject of quite a lot of talk in the summer. We've spoken about, will women ever come into the men's game? And this is the start of it, I think. This is, it's golf. Obviously, it's a bit different, individual sport. But, we are going to see, and it'll be really, really interesting to see how well the women do.
Completely different. It's completely different because they're playing against themselves.
Yeah.
So,
it is completely different.
There is a handicap because, of course, the women tee off on the women's tees, the men tee off on the men's tees.
I'm not sure. Will they have to do that? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. No,
but that's not that's just leveling the playing field, isn't it?
Which is exactly why it won't happen in football.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you can't necessarily handicap.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, yeah, the idea of watching 68 men and 68 women take part in intense stroke play in a field is like something that you'd see at some kind of swingers festival in Devon, isn't it, really?
Hey!
Literally a swingers, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, no?
Yeah, I see
Okay,
what you
fine.
said.
Yeah.
Don't dig out Devon like that.
No, I like this, though. This is...
I
look,
quite like this. Sorry, I was just trying to make a,
No, I think
a
it's- I
point
think-
about kind of
I
women's
just-
sport is now kind of
No,
in the
golf-
forefront of people's minds.
I guess golf is... I'm trying to think of other sports that you could do this in because it's...
Curling.
Yes. I mean, that was the first one that came to mind. But the point is, if it's if it's individual sports where effectively you're playing against yourself,
Yeah.
then, of course, you could...
Snooker.
Because the obvious...
Darts, you could do it in darts.
Yeah.
They do it in darts, I think.
Well,
There you go. The obvious point is that what's the advantage that men have? It's physically more than anything. Of course, physically there's a much more of or much bigger potential. Ordinarily bigger, stronger. So what can you do to make it? Well, golf, of course, you've got the white tees or the blue tees, whatever they play off, and you've got the red tees, which are that much further forward. That does even it up. And golf being so largely skill-based, power, of course, plays its part. But then when it comes to putting, there's no reason why there should be any difference when it comes to putting as to who's better.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Absolutely. No, you're so right. And it's a big prize pot, big field. I'm just so interested to see if it literally is like most of the men finish in the top half. And I don't know. It's just intrigued me.
It would be like quite a good experiment, won't it, I think?
Yeah.
In that sense.
Chess is another sport. Anyway, sorry.
Is that a sport?
Of course it's a sport.
Is it? Because everyone that I know who
It's a
plays
board game.
Everyone who I know who plays chess has got glasses that are like bottle tops, like a head brace, and normally a little bit of acne and a crushing amount of loneliness.
I played for the school chess team.
Whoa. What did you look like as a kid?
Yeah, let's not go there. What else is going on, Kieran?
Well, Michael Checker and Eddie Jones are going to face off in the first World Cup quarter-final on Saturday. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about this in the build-up to the week as the week rolls on, but it's already started in the back pages. And I just want to point out to any Australian listeners out there that Eddie Jones has a 6-0 record against Michael Checker. There's absolutely no chance Australia are going to beat us. We've got the best coach, we've got the best team, we got the best country.
Yeah.
You might as well pack your bags and go back to Australia.
Oh, Britannia. There he goes.
Britannia rolls away. Yeah, sorry, we have been asked to stop singing that so often on radio.
Well, it's interesting. I don't think there's been a single show that's gone by that you haven't at least sang it for a few seconds.
Just hummed it.
It's got to be done,
But there's a lot to be proud of at the moment.
Exactly.
Exactly. Eddie Jones being one of those reasons for us to be proud.
Of course, beautifully British Eddie Jones.
Of
Born in
fantastic.
Tasmania.
Of course.
He's born around the Watford area, wasn't he?
That's it.
Where he remained for his entire adult life.
There you go. He's a very lucky guy.
But these are two of the most outspoken rugby coaches in the world, and I just want to go through some of their previous press conferences.
Okay.
The war of words, as it's been called, which is a classic cliche. Eddie Jones, June 2016. So it's all smoke from Checker at the moment. He's boxing clever, but I know there'll be no shock selections coming, and there wasn't because Eddie Jones beat him. So there's Eddie Jones just digging out Checker for no mind game whatsoever. Checker, I wouldn't know him if I didn't play footy with him. We wouldn't have associated. Well, presumably, you
Fair
still would
play.
have faced each other.
I wouldn't have known you unless you started working here.
Well, yeah.
It's literally the reality of the situation, isn't it?
That's very true, actually. Yeah, if they hadn't been both rugby players, they wouldn't have known each other. Is the shocking
If me and my
revelation.
girlfriend hadn't met years ago and then subsequently dated and then decided to continue dating for a number of years, then we wouldn't have been together for a number of years by now.
Yeah.
It's
a fair point. I probably would have known you, obviously, given how many times you're in the front pages and
That's
some
true.
of the things you've done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't know Patrick Christys at this point?
I know. The infamous.
December 2016, Checker. He has always operated with a chip on his shoulder. Now there isn't a chip, and things are going well. He's got to keep looking for one.
Yeah. I mean, Patrick had that, but ate it.
Ate it, covered it in gravy and ate it.
Delicious. Next.
Eddie Jones, final one, November 2017. Obviously, Australia enjoyed the media more than the referee. Checker feels the referees haven't done a good job, so possibly he should be taking that up with the referee and not the media. So, they are never one to shy away from battling each other in the press conference. So I'm really looking forward to, I think it's Thursday that they're facing the media. It should be tasty.
It should indeed. No doubt we'll be talking about that later in the week. What else is going on?
Well, I mean, I kind of want to talk about the on-the-pitch stuff for England.
Yes.
Because I don't think we've done that enough. And in our last 5 minutes, why shouldn't we? Really pleased to see Tyrone Mings. You know, he was so composed. In that situation, on your debut, you've obviously made it known to the assistant referee that, you know, you're getting racist abuse. There was a period, I think it was in the second half. First half. He picked up a ball from a free kick, second phase. He, like, jinked past a defender and, like, put in this lovely deft left-footed cross. Like, he's got a lot of potential.
Oh, Hugh, again, you go back to this idea. We talk about Van Dijk. If you were to design a football player, you look at someone like Van Dijk and you are perfect for what it is that you do. Tyrone Mings, again, and this is obviously, look, we talk about the fact that at 19 years old, he's a mortgage advisor. I mean, it kind of, what I love about this, it just gives hope as well that he's obviously then dedicated himself to it.
He didn't come through a club's academy.
No.
Well, did you hear the story about that? So when he was at academy level, he got released.
Yeah.
And when he was asked why, it was because he was too short.
Yeah.
He's 6'5".
Insane.
He's 6'5" now.
But the amount of people seeing him that must be, I don't know, maybe they've got some ability and they wonder, do I pursue, you know, whether you are a 19-year-old mortgage advisor or a slightly overweight 27-year-old radio host, like, you just don't know what the future might hold. Just for example.
Yeah, I mean, just picking two
random jobs.
Random jobs.
You know,
absolutely.
there's always the potential that you can...
know, this is self-defeating because I go away from each show and eat my feelings. You know that, don't you? You know that about me.
Yeah, which
I regularly cry into some kind of, you know, McDonald's special, thinking this is for Rich Lee.
Going to make it harder for you to become an England striker.
Well, we're happy to have you. The bigger, the better.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean,
well, that's the
we're happy to have you.
I think you've got a few people who could vouch for that, right?
Anyway, Kieran, what else is going
on? Harry Winks, wanted to bring up Harry Winks' performance. I thought he was exceptional in midfield. Yeah. He kind of played like the deeper of the three. Like Henderson was a bit more advanced than Winks, and I feel like against opposition like this, it's a luxury we can afford to have. You wouldn't be able to play Harry Winks in that sort of role against a Netherlands or a Portugal, or I don't think, because I think defensively he's just too small, basically. And he, doesn't have that sort of work ethic necessarily that Declan Rice can offer you. Although you're making faces at me.
I don't know. Do you know what? Because I think the problem with the game against the Czech Republic was we didn't have in midfield. It didn't feel like there was the connection. So the amount of times you wanted that player to drop deep, pick up the ball, and more often than not, Harry Kane was doing it against the Czech Republic. So actually, Harry Winks does that very well.
That's the Czech Republic. That's sort of that's
True.
more like I'm talking about the top teams now.
Yeah.
The Czech Republic,
I thought Ross Barkley did it very well actually yesterday.
Brilliant.
Some of the touches.
His positional play was exceptional. Like he would get to every second ball, every knockdown. He was there in the right position, and I love it when he was obviously offered that free role. Henderson was doing kind of the dirty work in midfield. Winks was the deeper of the three, and Barkley was essentially allowed to drift around and looked every bit an international player.
Isn't it strange to have a group of players who, many of them now, are playing better for their country than they do for their club, as opposed to what we had in the past, which is we were desperately trying to get them to all recreate their club performances at international level. And that's flipped now a lot of the time, especially in the case of Barkley, Marcus Rashford, being two of them, arguably Pickford as well,
Pickford I thought was very good in the two games. I need to touch on that. Not that he had a lot to do yesterday, but again, he came and took a beautiful cross, which for Pickford, something that there's been a bit of criticism labelled when it comes to that. I thought he was very commanding on crosses. Really good save early on as well, down to his left, which, I mean, like that goes in, or if it's one of them where if it goes in, it would have been classed as a mistake, but it was actually a very good save.
And just briefly, I've got 20 seconds, but I do want to pick out Marcus Rashford because he obviously opened the scoring, settled us down, fantastic strike. Johnny Burrow, Love Sport on Drive, Posh Boys on Drive presenter, says he's not a number 9. Well, play him on the left. Look what you can do, Johnny. Sorry.
There you go.
Whoa,
there
sassy
you
way
go.
to end.
Sassy way to end from our producer, Kieran. Fantastic. Look, Kieran, as always, thank you. Patrick, thank you. The fantastic Martin Bell is up in just a few minutes' time, so don't need to go anywhere. We are